Good morning on this lovely Monday morning and welcome to Sewing Street. We have got some brilliant things for you today. Do you like my new cardigan? Very pleased with this. Well, I'd like to say it's mine. It's not actually. But we've got Yarn Lane at 12 o'clock today. And this is one of the brand new designs, brand new from West Yorkshire Spinners today launched. We've even got the designer who designed them all. We've got lots of garments, men and women. You'll see them all around the set. There's the men's jumper, all my new friends. Hats and scarves. We've got the designer coming on air to show us how to make them. We've got kits for them. We've got the pattern book. And this is one of them. I really like this. It's pure wool, pure British wool. It's beautiful, isn't it? I just love it. Anyway, just had to say about that. I know there's an early bird first, but I just wanted to tell you about my lovely cardigan. Very pleased with it. Anyway. But before all of that, we've got a fantastic early bird for you today. We have got 3.5 meters of gorgeous, gorgeous pure cotton fabric, all chosen so they coordinate really well together, saving £3. That's a bargain. £3.49. Amazing. £7.98 for 3.5 meters. I mean, that's your P&P, isn't it? So you're saving, it's like free P. If you buy the early bird today, it's free P&P, isn't it? So this works out as £2.66 for half a metre. And this is our usual beautiful quality fabric. So it starts off with half a metre of this lovely stuff fabric. I mean, even if you were paying £2.66 for fat quarter, would be a fantastic deal for half a metre. So this is lovely, isn't it? It's got a really lovely grey and white background in this sort of lozenge shape with a really rich burgundy, like a diamond pattern, but there are small pebbles on it instead. Really nice. That's the sort of the size of it. All over pattern, lovely, really lovely, and it all goes vertically. But you could use it horizontally as well. It's not like it has to be that way, but it works really well. Be really nice as a binding something, because you know if you cut it horizontally, then you could use that. But if you cut it diagonally as a bias binding, it would look really effective. I quite like the way when you look at it really closely that some of the diamond shapes are slightly darker, but only just here and there. So if you were going to do it as a binding, I'm going to show you, this is what I always do when I want to see if something works well with a binding, is I get the fabric I'm going to bind, and then if you put it round it, this is how I do it. This is a really good way of seeing if something works. So put your folding on there, and then you can fold it over. So that would be beautiful if you're doing a horizontal binding, but if you were cutting it on the bias, so it was a bias binding, have a little look at what that looks like. We've got Sallieann with us today, and in the first show she's going to talk to us about how to cut continuous binding, which is fascinating. So if you cut it as a bias, that's what it looks like diagonally. Beautiful, isn't it? Like falling leaves in the bundle as well. So it's not just that, you also get a half a metre of this lovely burgundy, which is a beautiful toning shade, and you also get half a metre of this grey. So you could make all sorts of things with this. You could use the print fabric as the main thing. If you wanted to make just a simple tote bag, you could make it from this and then use the burgundy or the grey as the lining or the handles, or you could use the print fabric as the lining. Just depends which way you want to go. For half a metre you can make one cushion front and back, or if you want to use fabric from your own stash, you can make two 20-inch cushions from a half a metre. But what's lovely about this is that, because obviously we've got all the fabrics and all the colours and everything here, is that we can select what colours actually go together. Now, gosh, half the stock of this is already gone. Well, I'm not surprised, because if you've got a particular project in mind, then it's a bargain, but it's a really good thing to add to your stash to get 3.5 metres of fabrics that you know are going to go together. So that is the early bird today. The early bird. Fantastic value. £7.98, you save £3.49. So you're basically saving your P&P. So if you haven't shopped with us before, it's £3.49 for your P&P. And that's just one payment for the whole day. So it doesn't matter how much you buy, how many times you check out, it's only one P&P. Now, just to let you know, as with, I think, everybody at the moment, anyone who's doing web shopping, internet shopping, we have got a small delay in getting orders out to you. We're trying as hard as we can, but obviously with social distance and the warehouse, we've have to, like everybody else, had to reduce our staff just to keep everybody safe, which means that we're not being able to get the orders out to you as quickly as we would like. But we are trying the best. We're putting as many different systems and shift patterns in place that we can to keep everything running. And obviously our warehouse is still up and running. We're all working in the studio, but I think all internet shops are having the same problem at the moment. It's just, when you have to reduce your staffing to keep everyone safe like that, it will get to you, but it's just a little bit longer than normal. So just to make you aware, but, I think everyone's having that problem. We are doing our best, though. We are doing our best. We also have some really other sad news today, that due to supply issues, we have not been able to get hold of the pigeon today. Which is actually really, really sad, because I know we had a lot of pigeon controversy last month, and there were a lot of you said they didn't like pigeons, but there were also a lot of, like me, pigeon lovers out there. And today was the day that the pigeon was coming, but unfortunately we've had really big problems with supply, and we can't get hold of the pigeon today. They are exclusive to us, so obviously, we're the only person who can get hold of them. The pigeon will be coming, but I don't know yet what date. So we haven't given up on Bird of the Month, but unfortunately, due to these supply issues, because of the current situation, we will keep you informed as to when we're going to get the pigeon back. So behind me, look at this. So we have had the whole quilt made up by the lovely Amanda Little has made it up for us. And it is stunning. She's quilted it even with a bird pattern on it. So this is what you will get. And all the birds are coming. All of them. So, in fact, I have all of them because I got a test print of all of them so that I can have I am the only person, I have one of all of them because I've got to come up with a different design for each one. So I am the only person in the world who has one of each of the birds. So that's not enough for all of you. So last month we did the wren, and we're going to recap that today because we have got lots of the wrens because we bought all of those and that. So we're going to show you, I'll show you at 9 o'clock how to make the wren, what you do. We'll be selling the panels. So any of you who missed it, the pigeon will be coming, but it just won't be today. But we will keep you informed as soon as we know when we can get more stock. So let's see what's coming up today. Right, 8 o'clock, that's now. We've got Sallieann Harrison, who's going to be on air with her brand new pattern, the Cherry Sewing Tub, which is just gorgeous. Some really interesting techniques, including the continuous binding that we were talking about. 9 o'clock, there is the sewing tub that Sallieann's going to be demonstrating for us today with really interesting techniques. And I love the clear flower on the top. That's really clever. And the way of cutting the binding. So we've got some lovely kits, 3 different colourways for making that. 9 o'clock is Bird of the Month January. So we're going to go back through January for all of you who missed out last time and talk about that. 10 o'clock, Sallieann's back with us, showing us how to do the lovely garden path quilt. And again, we've got some kits for that. That's a really nice design, a really clever way of cutting strips and then joining strips and cutting on the diagonal. It's really interesting. 11 o'clock, we've got a tools show, and I'm going to be doing a bit of an HST masterclass, going right back to the beginning, because I think often you feel like people assume knowledge. Oh, HST. You think, I don't even know what an HST is, let alone how to do it. So I'm going to be running through how to cut HSTs, whether it's in pairs or fours or eights, to make your sewing much quicker, and the tools that you need to do that. And then 12 o'clock, yay, it's the West Yorkshire Spinners Colour Lab launch, which is the beautiful cardigan that I'm wearing, and all the other garments we've got. A hat and scarf skirt, we've got a men's jumper, ladies jumper, 2 ladies jumpers, and this beautiful cardigan, all in 100% British wool. And Chloe Birch, who designed these patterns for West Yorkshire Spinners, is coming all the way up from Penzance to us today. And it's all allowed because it's for TV. She's got a special letter and everything, police letter. And she's driving all the way up here today to talk about her inspiration, how she designed them. And she's a really young, up-and-coming knitwear designer. And we are so lucky to have her pattern book and all of the yarn for you to make these garments today. Now, we've put all of the yarn packs and the pattern books on pre-order because we know they're going to be really popular. But if you want to shop with Yarn Lane, you need to go on to www.yarnlane.com. Completely different website. When we're on at 12 o'clock, it's the same channel. You don't have to turn over. But if you're watching online or you're watching on Facebook, you need to go on to yarnlane.com. If you want to buy any of the kits or have a look at them, they're all on sale now, but you need to go on to yarnlane.com to find them. Anyway, but that's Yarn Lane, just covered. But the website for Sewing Street is www.sewingstreet.com. And everything that we're going to be selling on air today is already loaded up there. So all you have to do, the easiest way to shop, click on Watch Live. There it is. And then if you scroll down, there we go. You can see everything that's on there today is on pre-order. So there's all the kits that Sallieann's going to be showing us. We've got rotary cutters and tools and fabric. There's the wren and all the panels that we've got. And new fabric, brand new fabric as well. Very nice. So all the tools, everything that we've got. So it just makes it easier as you're watching, all you do is scroll down and click on add to basket. Don't forget though, if it's in your basket, it doesn't mean to say it's yours. You have to check out. But you can check out as many times as you want. You'll only be charged the £3.49 P&P that you've saved on your early bird. If you buy anything off Sewing Street this morning, you buy off Yarn Lane, it's still only 1 P&P. Although we're separate websites for shopping and we're separate on Facebook, it is 1 P&P across. So if you've saved your money on the early bird, you can get free P&P for your jumper later, if you see what I mean. Also, if you don't want to shop online and you'd rather phone someone, speak to a human being, you can call our call centre 0800 001 4433. It's a UK base. Well, it's actually just around the corner from us. They're really helpful, very knowledgeable. So if you've got any questions or you're not sure, you'd rather speak to a real person, then phone the call centre to order online. Right. So that's all the admin out of the way now, all the boring stuff. Let's get on with the sewing. So we've got 3 kits to make this beautiful cherry tub today. The first one, let me show you the first one. This is the one that was in the picture. Now, what I love about these kits is they've got everything for them. So as you saw from the picture, as you can see from the picture, the top of the cherry tub sewing kit tub is a flower, beautiful cherry flower, but it's see-through. So you can see everything that's inside, which makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? And you keep, well, it's a sewing tub. You can keep what you like and you can put your biscuits in if you like, put anything in it. But in the kit, you get the PVC for the clear top, which is great because this is the sort of thing that's a bit tricky to get hold of. And you know that this is the right size, it's the right weight. It's fat quarter size, which is more than enough. So you can make another one if you like. You get loads there. So in the kit, you get a metre. Ooh, Liberty. A metre of Emily's Silhouettes. Liberty. This is a beautiful blue. It's like a sort of deep pale denim or a chambray blue with outline. It's only just white and dark blue. That's the only other colours in it. That's beautiful. It's real obviously, I mean, it's not your Liberty lawn, it's your proper Liberty quilting weight cotton. That's the main colour that the tub is made in. Isn't that beautiful? Metre. I bet you don't need a metre. Do you need a metre? No, I didn't think so. So you get loads left over, yeah, which is fantastic. So you can make matching everything to go with it. Beautiful. Right, you also get a metre of ivory. So this is your 100% cotton, beautiful quality, same weight ivory. And then you get half a metre of copen, which is like a royal blue, and a fat quarter of corn yellow, like golden colour. The only thing that you will need to add in that we haven't put in is interfacing, and we didn't put it in because lots of people have it, but we do have it available on the website. Also, Sallieann will talk through this later. She's chosen to accessorise the centre of hers with beads, but you could put anything you wanted. You could put some embroidery, a bit of applique, all sorts of things. So, but other than the interfacing, everything you need, and the zip, is in your fabric pack. You also get, clearly, the full instructions written by Sallieann. All makes sense with loads of pages. Loads of pages, loads of pictures, even more important. Everything you need to know, all the sizes, the measurements, the instructions, very, very comprehensive. And the templates as well. So you cannot go wrong. Obviously, watching the demo is going to really help making it, but everything you need to know is in this beautiful set of instructions, which come with the fabrics. That's pack 1. Kit 2 is the pinky one. So in this one, obviously you get the PVC. Let's find the special fabric. Oh, I like this. So you get 1 metre of this lovely, who is this? So this is a Stuff Fabrics. This is a lovely grey background, very neutral look with hearts. Really pretty. So you've got hearts or squares with hearts in it, all in neutral shades. So remember, although this is called a sewing tub, it doesn't have to be a sewing tub. You can put anything in this. But it's beautiful, isn't it? I love the very sort of the neutral, gentle shades because the hearts are in mint and neutral. And then, very good for baby things. Doesn't have to be for sewing things. You then get 1 metre of the pale pink. That goes together really well. I love the pink and grey combination. You get 1/2 metre of red. That's for the binding. And then you get a fat quart of bright pink. And then you get your fat quarter of the PVC, which is more than enough. So actually, you've got loads left over in here. I do like this grey. And obviously, full instructions. Some people have bought these on pre-order, which is great. But that does mean that we have less than 30 available of that colourway. And then finally, this one. What's this colourway called? Ochre. So the main print. Oh, this is pretty. Oh, who's that by? I like that. Oh, it's Free Spirit. The Spirit to Create. Garden Grove by Dina Designs. That's really pretty. Very sort of Monet watercolour. That's what that looks like. It's beautiful, isn't it? And again, you don't even need 1 metre for this. You'll have loads left over. Beautiful shades of ochre, pink, bright pink, greys and blues. Real sort of colour wash. It is watercolour. Be good for art bits, craft pieces, all sorts of things. This doesn't have, you can do whatever you like with it. It might be called a sewing tub. Doesn't need to be. Could be used for anything. That's so pretty. What a lovely gift. Be a nice gift for somebody. If you bought them something quite cheap, you could make them this and put that in it. It looks amazing. So then you get 1 metre silver mink is the name of it. Yeah, it's more of a neutral beige shade. But actually, doesn't that go really well because it picks up the stems and the branches in here. It is very posh Mother's Day, isn't it? Boutique-y. But it picks up the darker stems in that beautifully. You then get 1/2 metre of grass. It's called lime. It's not as yellow as lime. It's more grassy, I'd say. It is more, you know when the leaves first come out and you think, thank goodness spring is here, and it looks like someone's coloured in all the trees. It's that kind of green. You know when the trees are like dripping with leaves, that really brand new green. That's the green it looks like. Hannah's laughing at that. But it does look like that. When the leaves have just come on the trees, particularly all the beech trees, they're like dripping with all these really glossy leaves. And then you get a fat quarter of the pale pink, which all of these colours pick up all the ones in here. It's a beautiful mixture. And then a fat quarter of the PVC, which you use for the top. And obviously full instructions, because you'll be needing those. Oh, we also, that's unusual, have a few sets of instructions on their own. But we've only got 20 copies of them. If you get them, you're very lucky. Some people do ask, so we don't often do them just on, but today we do. So there are only 20 copies on their own. So if you want just the instructions, and then you can provide your own fabric. But obviously the beauty of this is, all of these fabrics go together, and you get the PVC as well. But if you just want the instructions, you can. You will also need a zip. You will need interfacing as well. but you'll also need a zip. And we have 2 here. We have the cream one. It's a metre. Whole metre. Look at that. Whole metre of a zip. It's even got 2 sliders. Very handy. So the zips often, we tend not to put zips and interfacing, all those sorts of things in the bundle, because a lot of people have their own interfacing and zips, and then you end up paying more. So that's why we do them separately, just to make it easier. So if you need the zip with 2 sliders, but it just makes it useful, you know, if your local sewing shop is shut and you can't get hold of zips like normal, then they're all here. We've also got a same thing, metre of a white zip, depending on which colour you want. Right. Oh yeah, I'm white. I've done white. White. Sorry, Hannah wasn't concentrating. I've done white. She didn't put the graphics in. There's the white zip, £2.50 for a metre zip. And then the interfacing. I don't think I've got that one. No, I haven't. I haven't got the interfacing here. But we have got the interfacing, a metre of which you will need just to give it a little bit of structure. If you want it, but it's not in the kit, it's just if you need it separately. So, those are all the items. That's all the admin stuff, Dan. So, good morning, Sallieann.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, tell me about the sewing tub. What inspired you?
So, can I start off with that one?
Do.
So
bring you down the original.
Okay, so this is the original one. This is the one with the cherry.
The cherry.
Oh, so it started as a cherry tub and it's sort of morphed on
into a flower.
It's just a sewing tub or a flower
Right.
tub, yeah. Yes, I started to play around with vinyl, and it's amazing what you can actually get away with. And then I thought, I wonder whether I can actually applique with it.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? I love the fact that it's clear.
Yeah,
You can see
so
what's
you can
going
see
on
through
inside.
it. So that's where it started, playing around with vinyl, and obviously inspired by the fabric, the sort of cherries in the fabric. So I made this one, and this one's got like a single zip to it, and people loved it. So that's that one. And then this is the version that you sent me, the kit for the kit.
Right.
Loved it.
I
love blue and yellow. It is so sort of like spring, daffodils.
It is, isn't it? And it's beautiful. It's Liberty, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Liberty.
Gorgeous colour.
So, yeah, I've added a few of my own decorations to this one, but I'll just sort of talk you through the sort of structure of it. So, basically, you make quilted pieces. So you make a square quilted top and a square quilted bottom and some strips that go along the sides. Now, in the pattern, I tell you to make them all individually, but when I made this one, I made it as one piece of quilting. I'll show you.
Okay.
So what I did is I actually put all the pieces onto one big piece.
Right, okay.
And then cut my
cut
circles and my strips
okay.
from that.
And was that easier?
I found it easier because what I did is sort of a bit cheaty really, but I draw on the back with a Frickson pen at sort of 1 inch intervals and just bomb the whole lot through the sewing machine in one direction, then the other direction, and then cut out the pieces.
So what did you put inside?
So in here is bosal, and also you can see there's a little bit of interfacing. So I use sort of light to medium weight interfacing. You don't want to go too heavy because what happens with the flower is you make the top piece and then you put your flower on top and they cut away from the back. Now, if it's too stiff, because you've added interfacing, then it's going to make it a bit tricky.
So is that just normal wadding on the inside?
So this is
or is it
bosal.
foam?
Is that
the foam?
The foam
interfacing. So the Styleville.
Yeah, is that what it's called? Bosal style? I don't know what it's called.
Right. No, this is Styleville that I've got here.
Okay.
But you've used bosal.
Yeah.
Which isn't quite as stiff as this.
I don't know. I mean, this worked really well because
Yeah.
you can see it's in there, so, and it's got quite a structure to it.
Okay, so the one that we've got on the graphics was for the bosal that Sally used, which is just like a wadding but a bit stiffer.
Yes.
And then we have also got the Styleville, which is even stiffer again, but would work equally well.
Yeah.
It's really good for structured things because it holds the structure, but you can sew through it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They are very, very similar. So you can either use the bosal wadding or you can use the Styleville, both of which we've got. It comes in a pre-cut piece, the Styleville, which is £6.99. It's 1/2 metre by 72 centimetres. There you are, £6.99 for 1/2 metre. So you can use either of those, but they are stiff enough to hold the shape, but really easy to sew through, which I was always really surprised by because it's quite thick, but it sews through really well. Okay, so
you're going to cut a square top and a square bottom and the side pieces, and then you're going to obviously cut them into the circles. And then this one's got a double zip. My initial one only had a single zip, but I must admit I like the double zip better. So this is...
So it's just 2 sliders then?
Yeah. And so the zip insertion is really easy. It's nothing... So this has already been bound, and then you just put the zip in afterwards to make the side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you bind that strip, you bind those, and then you put the zip in between the two to make the sides. Okay. And then you make the top and bottom, and you hand sew it in, which might sound like a worst nightmare, but believe me, it's not. If you just follow the...
It's probably easier, isn't it?
It is actually. If you... there's a picture in the... Just if I can find it. Sewing in the top here. There you go. I don't know if you can see that. So that is hand sewing in the top, and you use lots of those little clips.
Oh, okay, the Wonder Clips, which we've got. I love Wonder Clips. I've got 3 boxes of these.
Yeah.
They're really good for other things too.
Yeah, so you just use your Wonder Clips, and it tells you in the pattern how you... So you would measure, put 2 points sort of at 12 and 6, and then at 3 and 9, and the same on your base, and match it up, and start to go around with your clips to clip it in position.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, they are great, aren't they? Because once you've got them, they last. You've got them forever. I keep finding the dog with them, but she doesn't seem to break them. She just sort of
dog with them.
And then I go, what have you got? One of my Wonder Clips. But they're really used just for things like this where you want to clip something a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
They're the only thing that works, really. So I have 3 boxes of these and I love them.
Okay, so what I'm going to try... Oh, before I move on, I would say that was what was left, because you said about...
Oh, wow, yeah.
That was what was left.
Gosh. So you've got like 1/2 metre left.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic, though.
Yeah,
So on the blue bundle that Sally's working with at the moment, we are on single figures, unsurprisingly. That's great that you get all of that left over, though, isn't it?
Amazing. So what I'm going to try and do is, I'll show you first of all, I've got a quilted piece that I've made for the top.
Oh, and that's with that lovely watercolour fabric, the ochre colourway. That's lovely, isn't it?
Yep.
Love that fabric.
And I put the green on the other side. Yep. And then you just draw your circle, and we're going to cut.
Oh, so that colour's used for the lining, and is it used for the top of the flower as well?
I haven't used that for the top of the flower. I've used pink.
But for the flower centre.
No, I've got another pink one.
Oh,
I'm afraid.
okay.
But
so
you
you
could
can choose really what you use for which.
Yeah. So I've got green in the lining, the floral print on the outside. So I would cut that on the line that I just used a pair of compasses to draw my circle.
Yeah.
And just a pencil line, and then cut it out. And then you're going to put, this piece actually goes on top, and we're going to, hopefully we'll get around to this, we'll applique it in position with I use like a monofilament, a clear thread.
Right. By machine?
By machine. And then you would make the centre using a turn.
So you don't have to use clear thread though, you could just...
No, you could just use whatever you have.
Whatever matched.
Whatever sort of blended
in. So all
in.
the instructions for making the flower and doing the PVC and everything... I don't know what UPVC, I think that's Windows. PVC.
The vinyl.
Yeah,
clear vinyl.
The clear vinyl. They're all in the instructions, so everything you need to... All the measurements and everything are in there. So Sallieann's made that in advance, but all the instructions for doing that are in there.
And then you would I've just made the centre using like a turn through technique. We might get as far as that, and then you just superimpose that in and applique it all down. And then when it's all appliqued down, you turn it over and you cut it away from the back, which is the scary bit.
Yeah.
But saying that, I know some ladies that have already made it, and I had a lady contact me and she said, I've nicked one of the final pieces. I don't know what to do. And then she wrote back to me, she said, it was really easy. I just took out one segment and replaced it.
Oh, okay.
And she put it back in.
And it was fine?
It was fine.
Oh, we've got a message
But you wouldn't think you could get away with that.
No, you wouldn't actually, but you need to have made that mistake to know, don't you? Message from Sandy. Good morning, everyone. Just ordered my blue cherry tub. Love Sallieann's patterns. Can't wait to start. I know, it is beautiful, isn't it?
Morning,
and the great
Sandy.
thing is, that you see it here and you know that that's exactly the fabric you're going to get.
Yes, exactly. Right, so the other element of the tub in a very big way is all the bias, because this is all bias binding.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do this morning is 210 inches of bias tape, so it's quite a lot.
It's quite a lot.
So if you're going to stand there and one strip around another, it's going to take you forever. But if you're going to use the molar technique, it is much quicker. So I'm going to give you a demonstration of how to make loads of binding in one go.
Why is it called the molar technique?
Because it looks like a tooth.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Okay, so let's get started.
Well, there you go. I knew continuous binding, but I didn't know it was called the molar technique.
I've always known it as the molar technique, and it sticks in my mind because of the tooth angle.
So so you start off with a square of fabric.
Yes. So I've got in the cherry tub. The cherry tub uses a 20-inch square. I've just cut a 15-inch square just to demo.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to take it.
And this is
across on the diagonal.
Yeah, the pink that's in the ochre kit. So you cut it across the diagonally.
Yeah. And this is the tooth bit, look. This is how you get
Of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's called the molar technique.
So we're just going to slow down there.
No.
We're just going
to... Well, that's quite good because now you remember how to join it together, that it has to look like a tooth.
Yeah. Right, so I'm going to put some pins in it. I'm just going to join it with a 1/4-inch seam.
Right.
Here. Whoops.
So how do you know how much bigger square to cut?
Okay, so it's 20 inches for the cherry tub, but I know that people have always said to me, "Oh, how much?
Yeah, that's my
does
question.
a square? Yeah.
How much do I need?
Yeah. So I've got a little cheat sheet that's on my website, which is Sallieannquilts.com.
Right.
And on there, it gives. Got it here.
Show us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that's so if you go onto your website, you'll find this.
Yeah. I don't know if you can close in on that.
Nice bit of zoom.
Yeah. So you can see I've got all the different size squares, different size widths of binding, and how much bias tape it's going to yield. And I've got the cherry tub.
That's fantastic. I love that. I'm going to print that off.
And then I've actually got the formula as well at the bottom. If you're a mathematician and you want the formula, there it is to work it out.
Even better.
Okay. So yes.
No, but that's really useful because otherwise, what I tend to do is I cut a big one, and then I have too much.
Yeah.
I'm going to print that off.
So as I say, it is free. So you just.
How did you work all that out though?
Oh, I must admit, I picked up bits of it from the internet, and then I got my husband to sit there with Excel yesterday.
Okay. But there is a formula as well. Even better.
So he sat there with an Excel spreadsheet for an hour.
Wrote it all out for you. It's got to be useful for something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So let's get this 1/4-inch seam in. So this is because it's pink both sides, there's no right and wrong side, but this would be right sides together.
Okay. So if you were using, because obviously you could use this with any fabric.
Yeah.
So this must be the most fabric efficient way of making binding.
Yeah.
And I prefer homemade binding to shop bought because the shop bought binding is really stiff. I don't know what they do to it. You know the stuff that you buy in the roll?
It feels like it's full of starch, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just very stiff. And you can never get it quite the right. I mean, I know you can buy nice ones. You can even buy Liberty ones, can't you? You can buy all different sorts of binding, but it is also, I guess, it's a really good way of using up fabric as well. In fact, that Liberty you've got left over, you could make meters with that, couldn't you?
You could.
Roll it all up on something.
You'd like that for trimming clothes and stuff.
Yes,
just
I would
imagine.
actually. I would, yeah. I'd trim everything, bind everything. But you can buy, if you've got something, a really plain garment that's quite inexpensive, if you bind it, a bit of Liberty,
okay, so
it's really expensive.
Pressing the seam open.
Okay.
So this is just a 1/4-inch seam pressed open.
Right.
Press. Right.
So now we have a very strange shape.
Yeah.
Don't know what that is. Is that trapezium?
Is it a parallelogram?
A parallelogram, yes. Yes, it is a parallelogram, yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me. That is a parallelogram.
So you can see the way that it's actually set out now, that this edge and this edge are bias edges.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to draw some lines parallel to that to make our binding. So I'm going to draw some lines using a friction pen.
Have we got a friction pen?
I've got one.
Okay. They are on the website. The friction pens are heat erasable pens. They are wonderful. One of the best tools that you can have in your sewing kit, because you can draw on anything with them and then they just iron off. Obviously, do test them first on your fabric, but I haven't found they've remained on any fabric yet. But it's the same with everything, isn't it? You should always test, but I've used so many different marking tools. They are my favourite.
I love them.
And they come in all different colours as well.
Yeah. I've got red, green, blue.
Brown is my favourite one, not because I like brown, but it seems to show up on the most things. So how wide are you drawing these lines?
Got caught then. I am drawing, these are 1 3/4, and that's what it uses in the pattern in the tub.
So once that's made, what's the sort of the finished size? Is that 1/4 of an inch then?
Yes, just over half an inch. Let's put a few more on.
So whatever width you cut these, they will be finished 1/4 of it or 1/8 of it?
You're asking me too many questions.
I'm going to think about that. No, there'll be 1/4. So whatever you cut the whole strip, because you then fold that in half and then half again. So the finished bound will be 1/4 of the whole strip.
Right. So now what you're going to do is you're going to turn it over and then bring in. Can you see how that happened?
Oh, it's like a little envelope now.
Yep. So
you've drawn all the lines.
Yep. So you can see
on the wrong side.
Yep, on the wrong side. There's my.
Okay.
So that's the wrong side.
Make it into a special envelope.
So if you joined the lines here now, and you sewed along here along the diagonal, you'd end up with lots of concentric strips that were circles that were sewn and finished. So you need to offset it. So you need to bring down the second line to match that one, so that you end up with something that creates a coil.
Right, so line 1 you match with line 2.
Yeah.
And I presume you've got to make sure when you sew them that those match exactly.
Yes, so I'm going to put some pins in. So I'm going to go in roughly, I'm just going to eyeball 1/4 inch, but you might like to, actually let's sew down, let's put a 1/4 inch line down there as well. That'll help us, won't it?
So although there's quite a bit of prep involved with this, it is in the long run quicker.
Yes.
And very fabric efficient, more importantly.
Okay. Right. Those ones as well. Go. So that's number 1 and that's number 2. So we're going to put number 2 against number 1, and I'm going to use that apex. So I'm going to put a pin right through there, and then a pin right through there. The little cross.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all of this is all in the instructions.
The molar binding technique is not in the instructions. So it says, it refers to the molar binding, but it doesn't actually break it down for you.
Right.
So this will be the actual.
Okay, so you need to watch this.
Yeah.
But all the measurements, if you need to make different size ones, on Sally's website.
Yes.
But you just need to watch this back. So when you get your kit back home, watch it back and then you'll see how to do it. It does make sense though. So you just join it together, draw the lines, but then match.
Yep.
Offset the line, so one's joined to 2 and 2's joined to 3.
Yep. Okay. So let's pin in the top. So I'm just going to sew down that. So you've got almost like a tube look. Yeah?
A wonky tube.
A wonky tube with a strip that is offset at the bottom. Okay.
So 1/4 inch seam allowance.
Yep. I'm going to go back in. So I haven't gone all the way across this piece of fabric, just enough to show you. Now we have something that looks like this. Give that a little bit of a press as well. Press that one open.
So that one gets pressed open?
Yeah. Oh, saying that, if you use a Frixion pen, be careful because you'll lose your markings.
Yeah, be careful you don't get rid of your lines.
The number of times I've done that, amazing.
I do it all the time.
Okay, and then you just need a pair of scissors. Did I bring it? Yeah. Right, so then you just start cutting along the lines.
So you don't cut through the 2 layers?
No, you're just going to cut through
lines.
along the lines.
This is brilliant. I love it.
Okay, so it may look a bit weird here, but it works. You know, this is the only one where you'll have this
it's only that bottom
seam.
one where you'll get the 2.
Yeah.
And that's quite near the beginning, so if you don't want that bit, you could always cut it off.
Yeah, you could do. But can you see how it's just yards?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And yards of it.
Well, particularly because it's so important with this, because you go around a circular edge.
Yes, exactly.
You
do need bias really, because it'll give you a nice snug fit. If you used it straight grain binding, it wouldn't want to go around the curve. So.
And you need a lot of binding for this, so it's worth.
Yes, as I said, it's amazing. 200 inches.
Yeah,
so
and that's just a 20-inch square.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would do that much.
I won't go any further, but you can see, how easy that is.
Yeah, so you just keep cutting along and that's it.
Yep. So
if you've got any leftover fabric, this is a great technique to use, and then you can just keep it folded or wound around something, and you've always got bias binding.
Yeah, absolutely. What you do next then to prepare it is you'd fold it in half.
So you fold it in half, wrong sides
together.
Lengthways.
Yep.
And I suppose you prepare the whole length in one go.
Yeah.
So it's all ready.
Yeah, so I just sort of wind it around a piece of card or a ruler that you're not using. Sometimes just wind it around my 6-inch square ruler to keep it nice and neat and flat.
Yeah, because once you've pressed it all, you don't want it all coming undone again. Helen has just asked, what is Sallieann's website?
It's sallieannquilts.com. Right. And then I would just go back and turn the edge to the middle.
So whatever you cut the finished width to be, the single fold will be half of it. So once it is folded around, it is quarter of it.
Yes. So what's that? 8, 14. Yeah, it's not going to go. It's 3 and something like 3/8. And it just
what was the finished?
So this is 1 3/4.
Oh, that's really hard to divide.
Which is 14.
1 6/8. Yeah, which is 14/8.
Yeah, 14/8.
So 7/8 is half of it. 3 1/2/8.
Let's turn it into a maths class.
Yeah, 3 1/2/8, which is 7/16 finished, which is almost half an inch. Because 8/16 is half an inch, so it's a 16th less than half an inch. Why is it that measurement?
I don't know.
Just what?
I played with different sizes at the time. So when I make these things, I sort of play with different sizes and think, what does that look like on there? What does that look like? And then up and down, up and down.
Fine.
Yeah, I'll go with that one.
Yeah, so it's about half an inch. It's about half an inch, just a little bit less. That's some very quick maths.
Reinforce. I'm just repressing in that centre line. Okay. Right. Okay. Just wary of the time now. Time always seems to run away with me. So I'm just going to cut around my circle so that you can see. Let's make sure I don't cut that at the same time.
I do that. I love that fabric. I haven't seen that one before. This floral one. It's beautiful. It is like watercolour, isn't it? Did we do this one on the website, Hannah? Oh, okay. Just going to have a look, because it's really nice. I love Free Spirits fabric, though. They have a lot of nice, very different sorts of designers. A whole collection of different designers, but they're always good quality.
Okay. So what you would do then, and as I say, it gives you the directions in the pattern, is you would turn it over an edge to start. It's probably the easiest way to start. Which way around am I doing this?
So you bind it from...
Start this way. Let's get rid of that.
No, so this fabric is available on the website if you want to buy some more or some extra. Garden Grove is what it's called. If you want to buy this by the half metre, it's called Garden Grove. So you bind it from the wrong side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you would bind it from the wrong side. You'd start off with a little fold, and then you would fold it over and over. Do you want me just to start it off so you can see what it looks like? So use a small stitch because you're going to sew a curve, and I'm using a 1/4 inch foot. So when I say a small stitch, I don't know, 2?
Okay. Just get it round the curve.
If you've got a needle down facility, definitely use it because that's going to help you with a curve.
Is that just a 1/4 inch seam allowance?
Yeah.
Okay. That goes around really nicely.
Yeah. So then you would pull it over the edge, and you see it'll be slightly bigger on the top than underneath.
Yes. Yeah, because it's nearly 1/2 inch.
Yeah. So what you would do then is you would top stitch it into position all the way around. Okay. That's that bit.
That's really neat. No, but it curves beautifully because of the bias.
Yes, because it's biased.
Nice.
What did I do with my flower?
It's just there.
Right.
Hiding.
Okay, so putting the flower
You've got
in.
about 10 minutes left.
Yeah, putting the flower in, you can get away with putting a pin in the middle because you're going to cover it up.
Right.
So you put a pin right through the middle.
So you've already bound your...
You bound your top, pretend it's all bound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've bound your flower.
Yeah, and you've bound your flower. You've made your flower and bound it. And then I would use an invisible thread. Or, I mean, you could use just a toning thread and a zigzag to actually get it in position. A little narrow zigzag. Where's the thread gone? Just going to change the foot.
Do you put invisible thread in the bobbin as well?
No. I've heard of people that have put invisible thread in their bobbin.
So what colour would you put in the bobbin? Just the colour that matches the underneath?
The back, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I think in the pattern I give you the dimensions for the zigzag. I think it's something like 1, 1.5.
I'll
One.
let you know. One moment, caller.
Cool. So zigzag. 1. Just put a bit of a tidy up here.
Yeah, 1 by 1.5, you're right.
Okay, so if you were using a thin thread like this, I'd recommend that you went down to a 10 from a 12 needle, so a finer needle because you're using finer thread.
Oh, so just zigzag around the outside.
And then stop it with a needle down and a pivot when you get to the end of the binding tape. Okay, again I've finished there, but you can see what that looks like. I don't know if you want to come in, am I in the right place? So you can see just the tiny little zigzag catching it all the way around like that. And then the final thing is to make the centre. So I've just got a piece of sew-in Vilene and I've traced off the template from the back.
Okay.
Okay, and the template does include the seam allowance, that circular template.
Yeah, there's the circle.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so you can just use a medium weight interfacing on there. Yeah, because I guess you don't have to iron on interfacing, do you? You can just sew it in.
So this is about 1/4 inch in. I haven't got to put the 1/4 inch foot back on, so I'm just sort of guessing it in a minute. There we go. And then I would use, have you got pinking shears here? No.
Where's the scissor carousel?
Oh, it's gone. no worries. If you have pinking shears, I would use them now.
Where has the scissor carousel gone?
I'm just going to cut it out.
Someone's stolen it.
On the line.
I've just been here in the night, stolen the scissor carousel. Because it normally sits on...
It's normally over here. Yeah.
On there. Who's stolen the scissor carousel? I think Hannah's had it. No, it's not under here. I don't know where it's gone. That's really odd. We'll find it.
Just got a hole just through the sew-in viling. And then I'm just going to turn it through. So it's like bagging out, really. It just gives you a nice smooth edge. And I would applique the whole thing in position, the flower and the centre, and then I would go back and tackle the back.
And then cut.
Yes.
So once you've sewn the flower in and its centre.
Find your very, very favouriteest pair of scissors.
Very super sharp.
Yeah, super sharp. And yeah, go for it. So I tended to use like like this pair of scissors to make this a very small cut, and then I moved on to a sort of medium pair for clipping it around. I'll show you the inside. So yeah, so that would be appliqued on there like that. Okay.
Okay.
I'll show you the inside of this
And then if
one.
you want to do any embroidery or embellishment, you do that before. Well, I suppose you could do it after you've sewn it on.
Can you see the inside of this one where I've just cut it away afterwards? Yeah. It's amazing how much it will, the vinyl will bend. Don't be frightened of the vinyl. So I would grab hold of the vinyl and hold on to one side and pull the other piece away. If you see what I mean,
and it doesn't rip.
No, it doesn't rip. It's surprisingly really robust. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite thick.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like your flimsy cling
No,
film.
it's not cheap stuff.
It's not cheap stuff.
No.
This is quality.
This is the stuff that works.
Quality vinyl.
Yeah.
And it is really crystal clear as well. It's like tent windows. And it smells like, you know when you used to go to those tent
camping.
shops? It smells like a camping shop.
Camping holiday.
Oh, it reminds me of a camping. Do you
no.
remember those camping holidays? Oh, it does. It smells like camping. It smells like a camping shop with all those brand new tents. But it is really thick. I bet that's what they use for tent windows.
Probably do.
Because it is really crystal clear.
Yeah, so I think that is it really?
Brilliant. Okay, and everything else you need to know is in the instructions.
Yeah, including the directions about the hinge, which is very
Yes.
easy to put in place. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Some people have actually added a handle as well.
Okay.
And that looked kind of cool as well.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
that's nice.
with a couple of buttons either side.
And you could use it for loads of things. You
Yeah.
put pies in it. Be nice with the pie.
Somebody told me that they were using it, gave it to their granddaughter, and she used it for like bobby pins and hair clips and that.
That would be nice.
It's quite
yeah,
nice to
it
see all
would.
that
Yeah,
through.
and jewellery, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yes, it would be really nice for
Yeah.
that. Makeup, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You can see what's in it. Pies, cakes.
Oh, and one last thing, if it's not stiff enough, spray it. Spray it with starch and stuff it and put it in your airing cupboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it just dries.
More rigid.
That's clever.
Yeah.
How does the starch affect the vinyl? Do you
Doesn't
have to
affect it
cover?
at all.
Oh, okay. You don't have to cover it up.
No.
So you just stuff it and then put it in. I like that idea. Brilliant. Very good tip. So you'll be back with us at 10.
Yep.
With the garden quilt.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Loads. So I'm just going to have a quick recap through the kits. So the one that Sallieann was doing, has been demonstrating, is the beautiful blue Liberty one. I've got lots of stuff here. A little clear up. There we go. So in there you get the full set of instructions, everything you need to know. We are on single figures of this Liberty quilt. So in this Liberty kit, in this you get a metre of the Liberty fabric, and you've got loads left over, as Sallieann showed you, and it's beautiful quilting weight cotton, but Liberty print. You've got a metre of cream. Did you use that for the lining of yours?
I didn't use the cream at all.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, you could go for a cream flower.
Yes, you could have a.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Or you could have
Or
cream one.
but what we didn't cover really was that you could actually do a little bit of patchwork with it, which is like this one.
That's really nice.
And you could use
isn't
all
it?
the colours then.
Yeah, that's true, all around the edge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, make it your own. You know, the basic instructions come with the kit, but you could just make it your own. because you can have a real mixture. You get half a metre of the blue that Sallieann used for the binding, and then you get a fat quarter of the sort of golden yellow. Oh, and of course, a fat quarter of the PVC vinyl, very important. The next one, the one that Sallieann was working with, which is the ochre, again, obviously you get the full instructions. You get a metre, this beautiful watercolour effect fabric that's all ochre and pink and blue and green. It looks really, really nice. It does look like a watercolour painting, and it probably is. I would imagine the designer started off with a water. It's really lovely. And it's what I like about this fabric, it really is multi-directional. It's the sort of thing that, although the flowers are very, well, because they've got that watercolour effect and the leaves, you haven't got to follow a direction of print. You can go wherever you like with it. Then you get a metre of this lovely, it is like an ochre colour brown, because it's exactly the same colour as all the stems on the leaves, so it goes together really well. And then you get half a metre of this lime green, which is more of a new leaf spring green, and fat quarter of the pale pink, and a fat quarter of the vinyl. And obviously the full instructions. And then the final kit is the pink, cherry pink. The final one is the pink one, which is called Pink. Just called Pink. I'm just making sure I've got the right name. So obviously the main fabric for this one is this lovely grey, which goes so well with the pinks. Grey with hearts. So, depending on what you're going to do with your sewing tub, because you don't have to use it for sewing, choose your kit depending on that. This one's really pretty, isn't it? I love all the hearts. Very, very neutral, with just shades of sort of beige and mint against the squares. Then you get, so a metre of that. You get a metre of the pale pink. Then you get half a metre of red, a fat quarter of bright pink, and obviously a fat quarter of the vinyl. And that's everything you need to make it, except for the zips and the interfacing, which we're selling separately, because we don't put them in the kits, because a lot of you have them anyway. So the Styleville, which is like that's the brand name for it, because it's made by Sallieann, but it is a foam interfacing, which is thick. It has really good structure, but it's very easy to sew through. So it's absolutely perfect for this. And the half a metre piece that you can get by here for $6.99 is more than enough than you need for your tub. But it is really useful when interfacing just isn't thick enough or gives enough structure when you're making something like this that is a 3D thing. So like if you're making, even if you're making a bag, it's really good for the base of a bag or the sides if you just want some more structure. But you can use a normal sewing machine needle. It sews through beautifully, even when you've got a front and a lining on it. I use it all the time. I love it. And zips. So you need a metre zip with 2 sliders, and we've got a white one and a cream one. So the white one, depending on which kit you buy and what colour you want. So I think the white one would go particularly well with the blue, I'd say. That would be and you could use the white one for any of them. I think the cream one would go better with the ochre kit, I'd say. So this is a whole metre, and it's got 2 sliders on it, which means you can open and close it from within. But these are great. I love these zips because it's got 2 sliders. Even if you just want to buy this for your stash, it means you've got 2 half-metre zips here. So for 2 50-centimetre zips, that's really useful. And also cream. Yes. Sorry, Anna's just talking to me. Yes, cream zip. And again, it's a metre length with 2 sliders, so it's perfect for this kit. Or if you just need some zips for your stash, it's ideal because it's got the 2 sliders. You can use it as 2 50-centimetre zips. They are just fab. Yeah, nothing worse than not having a zip. And you think, I'm just going to make sense. And I've got a zip. I always keep a big stash of zips at home. Couple of people, yes, Maureen and Sharon have asked about my cardigan. Isn't it lovely? So we have got the launch of the new Life in Colour pattern book on Yarn Lane today, designed by Chloe Birch, who's a really up-and-coming new designer who's coming on air to showcase her patterns. We've got the pattern book, we've got the yarn packs. This is one of the items. I'd like to say it was mine, but I'm not. I'm just borrowing it. But it's beautiful, isn't it? It's pure 100% British wool, made by West Yorkshire Spinners, and Chloe the designer will be on later. We've got lots of items. You'll see them all around the set. Here's another one. Look at this, lovely. This is coral. And you can make it, it's got 3/4 length sleeves. You can make it cropped or full length, depending on what you want. We've got a men's jumper, because we haven't done any men's knitting. So at 12 o'clock, Yarn Lane will be on air. If you're watching on the TV, it'll be straight after Sewing Street. If you want to shop with Yarn Lane, all the pattern booklets and the yarn packs are already on, they're already going. So you need to go on to www.yarnlane.com. You can't shop on the Sewing Street site. You have to shop on Yarn Lane. But the postage and packing is the same. So if you bought anything with Sewing Street already this morning, you can go onto Yarn Lane and buy something, and you will still only get charged the 1p&p. So the TV channel is the same, but the website and the Facebook, we have our own dedicated sites. So if you love my cardigan as much as I do, and they're already checking out, and there's a lovely hat and scarf as well. And normally, this is beautiful wool. Normally, I'm a bit of an itchy wool person. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I can't normally wear wool because it's itchy. And this isn't itchy, and I've been wearing it all morning so far. And so far, I'm not itching. So it's beautiful, isn't it? And it's just really lovely to have something that's hand knitted, that's really contemporary as well. Lovely. Anyway, enough about Yarn Lane. I'll be talking about my cardigan all morning. So next on air, we've got Bird of the Month. Now, I know it's not the pigeon. I know. I'm really sorry. We have got real supply problems. But the pigeon will not have gone forever. It's just at the moment we've got the supply issues. But the pigeon will come in. We will keep you updated. But we're going to still carry on with the Bird of the Month. We're just going to run through January again, because I know lots of you missed it last month. And we're going to go back through the January birds. But we will be back with you in just a couple of minutes' time. You are all invited to join us for Vicky's baby shower on Wednesday the 24th of February. We have a bumper day planned for you with lots of baby makes from both Sewing Street and Yarn Lane from 8 a.m. right up until 4 p.m. You can watch us on Sky 670, YouTube and Facebook Live for the full 8 hours. Or, if you watch on Freeview 72, just tune in as normal from 8 a.m, then you can watch on YouTube or Facebook Live from 1 p.m. Send your messages and advice for the mum-to-be to studio@sewingstreet.com and we'll read them out to Vicky on the day. And don't forget to put Wednesday the 24th of February in your diary for lots of oohs and ahs and plenty of treats thrown in too.
Hi, I've been asked to do a little bit of an introduction about me, so here goes for Sewing Street. I'm Sallieann Harrison. I'm based in the UK in Bristol. I lived here all my life, apart from a short stint in North Carolina where I lived for 3 years from 2000 to 2003. I specialise in patchwork and quilting. I'm a complete patchwork and quilting addict. I love small piecing, I love wool applique, all forms of applique, and I also like making small little crafty projects. How did I get into sewing? Well, I've sewn all my life. I remember the first thing I ever made was like a little bikini top from one of my mother's old overalls when I was about 9. I got married when I was about 20, 21 and started making curtains at that time. So I was a curtain maker for a long period of time. But it was in 2000 when I moved to the US that I really got into quilting big time. I discovered a local patchwork and quilting store. I took classes. I made loads of quilts. I made some fantastic friends. I met a great tutor called Michelle May. And by the time I left, I was actually beginning to exhibit in 2003. So that's how I got into doing what I do. Tell us something unexpected about yourself. Well, one of the strange things about me is that I'm the world's worst knitter. I can do most crafts. I crochet, I do punch needle, I do obviously patchwork and quilting and dressmaking, but knitting, the pins go in all sorts of weird directions. I have to concentrate. If anybody rings the doorbell, I can't stop mid-row. I am the world's worst knitter. Sewing tips to share with viewers. It's got to be the beard trimmer. trick. I mean, why use an unpicker when you can use a beard trimmer to take out the seams that you've sewn incorrectly? It's just the best tip ever, I reckon. And a claim to fame. Probably my claim to fame based on my sewing career was that in 2017 I was invited to the Houston Quilt Festival, the International Quilt Festival, and it was there that I demonstrated some wool applique. It was a fantastic experience, and if anyone's debating going to the International Quilt Festival next year, go. It is absolutely fabulous. And that's a bit about me. Thank you very much for listening.
And welcome back to Sewing Street. So it's Bird of the Month time. Now, I know for those of you who are watching last month, you're expecting the pigeon, but we have got supply issues, so we're not doing the pigeon today. The pigeon will be coming, don't worry. He will come back. So all of you who love pigeons will be very pleased. But if you haven't seen Bird of the Month, we thought we'll do this again because we've still got stock of the wren, which was January bird. So let me just explain quickly for those of you who haven't seen it. So every month we are going to be selling a different bird. Now, if you look at the quilt behind me, which we have had made up. So every month you buy your bird, and then at the end, when we get to the end, which is December, funnily enough, with the robin, we'll be selling a panel with all of the sashing and the squares and the borders and the binding on it, so that you can create the whole quilt. Now, it's up to you. You can buy one of each of the birds, so your quilt looks like ours. You can think, oh, well, I want more of one bird or less. But interesting, because we had so much controversy last month about I love pigeons, I hate pigeons, that we have actually created 2 alternative panels. So we have created 2 different birds, and when the pigeon comes back in stock, I will show you how to make the messenger bag with the pigeon, but also with another bird. So you can choose. So you don't have to have a pigeon, you can have a different bird if you like. So what you do every month, we will be selling a different bird, and you collect them over time. Now you can collect them and save them and make them into the whole quilt. But also what I'm going to be doing is I have written a complete set of instructions every month for the bird. And so there will be 12 different patterns. Now, because the panels are all exactly the same size, the birds are the same size, the complementary strips that come with it are the same size, any of the patterns will make any of the birds. So if you want to the first one that I've done, the patchwork star cushion, I've done it to make the wren. Okay, but when we get to the blue tit, if you buy the instructions, they will work with any of the panels. So if you look at my quilt here, we've got April as the blue tit. If you wanted blue tit as a star cushion, then you can buy these instructions. So by the end of the series, we'll have 12 panels, 12 sets of instructions. Any of the instructions will work with any of the panels. The pigeon will be coming, but we've just got to wait a little bit and we will let you know. But you can mix and match all of them. So you can use any of the instructions. So I've made January, February and March. I'm just working on April at the moment. And then by the end of it, you've got 12 sets of instructions. And luckily, I have got one of each of these because I got the preprints. But that's because I've got to write the instructions and work out 12 different projects using a square bird. So the first one is the patchwork star cushion. Now, the reason I designed this is I wanted to use the whole panel. And I wanted to show you a really an efficient way. And I've tried with each set of instructions to introduce a technique that you might not have used before, something slightly interesting, something a bit different, so that you get to make a finished project, but you also get to learn something as well. So that's the way I've done it. Now, in this bundle, you get the panel. So the panels will be exactly the same for every bird of the month, except for the fact that the birds will be different and the complementary strips. So on the wren, same but different. So on the wren, you get the square, it's 10.5 inches square, so that finish with the seam allowances, which are 1/4 of an inch, all the birds are 10 inches. You get 2 labels with the name of the bird. So on my cushion, I put the bird's name on the bottom of it, and every project I've going to incorporate the label in it in case, but you don't have to put it on. You then get 5 complimentary fabric strips. They're all 2.5 inches wide, like your normal design roll, and they're 43 inches long. So they're like the whole width of a fabric. So on this one, you've got like just to match in with the birds, you've got a sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 graduating shades of beige, and then you've got a pink print at the bottom. So for this cushion, I wanted to use all of them. So also in this kit, you get the panel with the wren, but you also get the full instructions, which I've created through Amber Makes. And so any of you who know the Amber Makes stuff, if you know my Amber Makes kits, you know that the instructions are always nice quality instructions, and that that work as well. And they work because well, that's my background is in craft magazines. I've been working for craft magazines since my first job, really. So I've spent my life writing instructions. I've spent my life reading emails and answering phone calls from people saying that doesn't work and I don't understand it. So I've constantly rewritten things and redone it because people say, what does that mean when you say that? This sounds better. And because I work with magazines, they're very particular. Instructions are the be all and end all of the magazine. So that's my background. And then there's lots of walkthrough photos of how to do it. And every month there will be a new set of instructions. So in this bundle, there's the panel for the wren and the instructions. Everything you need to make. But remember, if you buy this bundle, if you then buy any of the other bird of the months, the instructions will work because they're all the same size. But if you only want to buy the instructions and you don't want to buy the wren, you just want to buy the patchwork star cushion. And I know there's a picture of a wren on this, but as I said, it will work. If you want to have a blue tip one when April comes along, or if you fancy a robin one, or if you've got your own, all the measurements are in here. So everything you need to know, they are standalone. So you don't need to use one of the panels. Any fabric will work with them. So if you just... if you've got a feature panel, maybe you've got a tea towel, a favourite tea towel. You know when you get a really nice tea towel and you're not really sure, you don't want to use it because it's so nice, it's got some beautiful prints on. I love tea towel. I keep stacks of the ones that I really like, and I often buy them and I use them for things like this. I've got a bag that I take everywhere with me that's a tea towel. But the 10-inch square in the centre, and the instructions do tell you about the sizes. You could use your favourite print in the middle. Or something embroidery. Maybe you've embroidered something and you don't know what to do with it. Or it's like a drawing, something that a child has done and you want to put it onto fabric. Or just a really favourite piece of fabric. Because it's such a big size, it allows you to use lots of different techniques, or special fabrics, or you want to do some embroidery or applique. But this cushion, and it's using the sawtooth star pattern. And you don't need lots of fabric for it, as you can see, because I used the whole of the panel to make this. So it is really for slash busting, but it is a really good way of showing a specific piece of fabric, or, something else that you've done. Maybe you've done some machine embroidery or normal embroidery or a tea towel. Perfect for that. Or just when you get a nice piece of fabric, or it could be like for a memory cushion, couldn't it? Maybe you've got a very special dress or a piece of child's clothing, something that you want to remember, maybe a shirt or that sort of thing, where it's a piece of clothing that you want to frame beautifully. Because it's a big square in the middle, it's ideal for that. And actually all of the instructions will be the same, but it will be a surprise each month. The pigeon's a messenger bag. That's not a surprise now, is it? And I'm not telling you anymore after that, but the pigeon is a messenger bag. So instructions only. You can get the panel with the instructions, or number 3 choice, this is getting really complicated, you can get the panel on its own. So it might be that you want to buy a panel because you want to make the quilt, but you also want to make the cushion. So you can buy the panel on its own, the instructions on their own, or you can buy the panel with the instructions. 3 choices. Yeah. And then, you know, so maybe you don't want to make it into a cushion, or you're going to keep it for the quilt at the end. But you could, I think I am going to do that at some point for one of the projects, is you could actually cut the bird out and applique it onto another fabric. Because I'm going to make the instructions so they will fit all the panels, but I'm not going to do the same thing. In fact, for the blue tip one, I've got quite a clever idea where it's slightly different to how we normally do it. I'm going to do it in a different way. So anyway. So, and also we've got some colours of fabric here. So I've got a pink and a cream, because obviously on the panel there isn't the fabric for the back of the cushion. This looks very strange because I've got the cushion in there which is showing through. But you need 1/2 metre of fabric for the back of your cushion. And the ivory is what I've used for my cushion. But if we look at the front, you can see the pink works really well. So you can buy it by the 1/2 metre. The one that we've got is ivory that's on screen at the moment. £3.49 for 1/2 metre, and you only need 1/2 metre for the cushion. But obviously if you want more than 1/2 metre, then you will be sold it as a continuous length. If you want the pink, because I think the pink goes together really well, you can have that for the back of the cushion. And again, 1/2 metre, £3.49 works perfectly for this. I put the Wren name on the front, but you get two labels, so you could put it on the back, or you could put because you get a pink one and a neutral one. You can put one on the front and one on the back. Okay, so how do you do it? Well, I'm not, obviously all the measurements and everything you need are in the instructions. Tells you how to cut out, how you do it. If you're not buying the panel, I've said how to cut the strips, because what I've tried to do is make the best use of the panel. So I've told you how to cut the strips, but the strips are all 2.5 inches wide, so you just cut them as you say. So here's one I made earlier in progress. So you start off by, you cut out your bird. Use a little bit of a press really, and then you use one of each of the 4 colour borders all the way around the edge, just little inner borders. That just gives it a little bit of a frame. Then you have half square triangles, which are assembled to look like the sawtooth effect. So it's a bit of a star, isn't it? So you get, the way that I've arranged them is that from the centre they go outwards, and I've used different pairs of colours all the way around. Everything's in the instructions. So if you used your own fabric, you could make it even more contrasting, because you get a light and a dark. That you need that for the star effect. So if you wanted to use your own fabric, you could make it even a stronger contrast. You could use, the red that they've got in the berries here. You could use like a red and a cream, or a red and a pink, to make it even more. So this is a very I wanted the bird to stand out and the star to just be a light frame for it. But if you want the star to really stand out, if you used a big contrast between the dark and the light, it would. Now, the most fabric efficient way of making half square triangles from design roll strips is this. Now, here's some strips. Now, obviously, you haven't got light blue and dark blue. I've just done this because you can see the contrast really well, and you can see the sewing really well. So that's why I've done it like this. Now, this is a really efficient way of making half square triangles from design roll strips. So you can use this for all sorts of things, because, if you've bought a jelly roll or a design roll, you don't want to always use it for sewing together or for binding. You can do other things. So what you do is you take 2 of the strips, cut them off the panel first, or cut your own, and you sew them right sides together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the top and the bottom, and you end up with a tube like this with open ends. Yeah. Then you take a ruler, a rotary cutting ruler. This is the 6-inch ruler. You can use any size for this, but the 6-inch ruler is, let's put that so you can see it better. The 6-inch ruler is ideal because you only need something little. If you want to buy one of these, we have these on the website. But if you don't, they are $14.99. This is ideal for cutting small pieces. You can use your bigger ruler if you haven't got one of these. But I have a big ruler and a little one like this, because it's just ideal for cutting smaller pieces or quick trimming up of things. So that's ideal. So that's the Creative Grids ruler, $14.99. I haven't got that one. I've got a different one, and that's why I'm not using that one, because I marked mine already with tape, which is really important. So, but mine is obviously the same size as that one. So in the instructions, it explains how to do it. First of all, you need to mark your ruler. Let me take some cream fabric. You can't see it very well on the on here. So on your ruler, you find the 2.5 inch mark. 2.5 inch and 2.5 inch. You just get some tape. Now I've just used some washi tape. You can use just any low tack tape, bit of masking tape, quilter's tape. I've used washi tape. So from the 2.5 inch mark of one corner to the other, you mark. Now it's that 2.5 inches which is important. It's not the bottom, it's the top. So if you forget, you could draw a little arrow on it, so you just always remember that's the line that you need. But just mark your ruler, and if you use a low tack tape like this, it will easily come off. This just makes it simpler. So now you've sewn the top and the bottom, what you do is you line the mark up with the seam line. That's why it's important you use the top line, not the bottom line. So the 2.5. So you don't have to mark the ruler. You can just mark the 2.5 inch at the top and on both sides. But if you mark it, it's just easier. Then, now this is where using a smaller cutting mat or a rotating one is really useful. Right. So I'm going to turn this round. So we're going to cut along one side. Ooh. And then you're going to cut along the other side. And so that you're not cutting towards yourself, there we go. Right. So there's one. Put that there. And then turn it round. And again, mark the 2.5 inch on the seam line and cut it. 2. And you work all the way along this strip until you have enough of these. When you do the third one, I'll just show you that one. You have to line it up on the seam line. So you are going to, can you see, if you're getting close there, that bit's going to be wasted. But you have to mark on the seam line. The measurements I've given you in the instructions, the strips are more than enough for what you need. So again, cut along here. And don't cut towards yourself because it's very dangerous. Just turn your mat slightly. There we go. So that little bit there is you don't need. So you do, and there's another one. And then obviously when you do the next one, so you only ever waste that little bit on every other, because when you come to do the next one, the angle is correct. So you can use this method for any strips. But I've put, the strips are 2.5 inches wide, and I put the mark at 2.5 inches. So if you want to use this method with different size strips or different width strips, just remember to put the mark on your ruler at the same as the width of the strip. So that's just a few. I mean, you need 12 in one colour and 12 in another colour, but when you make this, you pair together 2 strips and you pair together another 2 strips, but it's all in the instructions. So all you have to do then is get your ironing board. Press it, open it up and press it towards the darker side. This is why I've used this dark blue and light blue, so you can really see it. There we go. Make sure it's pressed nicely to the darker side. And then you just need to trim it now. It will be almost exact. Almost. You need to trim it into a 2.5 inch square. Right. Okay. So when you do this, in fact, I can use this ruler here, the one that we've got. When you're trimming half square triangles, always put the diagonal line that's on the ruler down the diagonal that you've stitched. Then you know that the diagonal will go right through the centre. If you just trim there and it's slightly off, you won't have a perfect triangle. So put it as close to the edge as you can and put the diagonal line of the ruler through the diagonal and trim off that. turn it round. And now, because it's got to be 2.5 inches square, I've marked the 2.5 inches. You can trim off that side. Turn it round again. And now you can line up the top and the bottom line to make sure they're parallel. Cut that one. Turn it round. And trim that one. And I know you sort of think, oh, God, I've got to turn around that 4 times. But it means that your squares now, look, that's absolutely perfect. It's absolutely perfectly 2.5 inches square. And you see, when you look at that one that I haven't trimmed, now when you come to join them together, because on the cushion, actually I can just take the one I've made here to show you more easily. All of these are going to be joined together. You join these together in a row and those. Because I've trimmed them, so they're absolutely perfectly 2.5 inches, you know that it'll fit. But do you see what I said to you earlier about the contrast? If you make your light and your dark very contrast, if you used your own fabrics or you're using this pattern but with your own fabric, you can have a much bolder star effect. But it's just the choice of fabrics. When you've done that, you then use the final fabric strip to put on the edges. And then round the edge of the cushion, if I just tip it up slightly, you can see that floral print with the final fabric strip I put all the way around the edge as well, just to give it a little border. I also find as well that when you've made things like half square triangles, you've got a lot of seams going on, a lot of angles, and I find that when you're then attaching it and making it a cushion back, it's a lot easier if you've just got a narrow fabric strip to join to a cushion back rather than all these different angles, if that makes sense. So there we go. That is how to, a bit of a theme today, that's how to make a half square triangle from a design roll strip. So at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be showing you how to create half square triangles from all different sizes, and whether you want pairs and 4s and 8s. But this ruler is perfect for using for half square triangles. So if I press open another one, I'm just going to show you. Because if you've got a long ruler, that's fine, but it's quite hard to manoeuvre if you're trimming little things like this. So they're perfect. I mean, this is perfect, obviously, because you can put the tape on it. It's great for that. But it's the squaring up. So when you're doing, I'm going to show you. Let me get a big one. So if you're using a big one, right, and so let's square up one. Oh, hang on, we've got to put it along the diagonal line. Where is it? There it is. So I'm going to put that along the diagonal. Right, okay, so now I've got to move everything out of the way because it's too long. Because that's got to go on the diagonal line. So already I'm annoyed because I've had to move everything for it to sit on. So I'm going to trim that side. Now I'm going to turn my square around and trim the other. So I've got to, it's quite unwieldy for something like this. But you do need the big one. You need the big one for cutting across the whole width of fabric. But for cutting little things like this, just look at how it's just easier. And what I like about this ruler is it's actually 6.5 inches square. Which means, because you've got the extra on one side, well actually no, it's 6 3/4. No, it's 6.5. So you've got an extra 1/2 inch on the edge. So if you're trying to add 1/2 inch, if you want 6.5 inch squares, it's also got the 1/4 inch seam allowance marked down the edge as well. So if you're cutting something and you want to add the seam allowance, the dotted line is the seam allowance. You can just cut it there if you wanted to add that. But so the one that I've got that I used at home isn't Creative Grids. It's great and it's a really nice ruler, but it doesn't have the grip. So the bottom of the Creative Grids has this sort of slightly textured grippiness. The Olfa, the grip is there, but it's only like the textured markings, whereas this has got extra grips all the way around the edge. And I haven't got one of those. This will have to be another thing I steal from the studio. The only problem is they'll notice. I have to buy it. because I do use it all the time and I know how good it is. This is the great thing about working here, is I get to try out all these different things and see what I like the most. So that is much easier to cut with than the big one. I mean, I don't have loads and loads of rulers. I've got a long, big one like this. I have a square one like this, and I have one of the medium length ones. I've got one of these. Just because when you need to cut like 12-inch lengths. So those 3 sizes are the ones that I have. Just because sometimes it's like the Goldilocks ruler, isn't it? That's too small, that's too big, and this one's just right sometimes. But the little rulers are perfect. But we've got all of these on the website. If you have a look, you'll see on the Creative Grids on the website, you'll see all of it. So those are the 3 different combinations that you can buy. You can buy the instructions, the panel and the instructions. Yes. So the panel that come and the instructions that come together, so the Wren panel and these instructions, they are almost sold out. But obviously we are going to, so this is the panel, you've got the strips. So some of you missed the beginning. Where is the pigeon? The pigeon, we're very sad, has flown away. Well, he hasn't flown away. We're having a few problems with supply issues at the moment due to the current situation. So we haven't been able to bring the pigeon to you. We're not absolutely sure what date that's going to be. And we didn't want to sell them all to you today and then not be able to guarantee what dates. They will be coming. We will be getting them in the next few weeks. We definitely haven't forgotten the pigeon. I've made the pigeon already. I've written all the instructions. They've all been printed. We're all ready to go, but we're having problems with the panels themselves. But when we do get it, you will be able to make the whole quilt, and there is a choice. You don't have to have a pigeon. I've got a secret bird that I've got and I've made into something. It's very lovely. So there are 12 birds, but there are 2 secret birds. So that if you don't want all those 12 and there are 2 that you don't like, maybe you don't like starlings, or you have a particular hatred of a great tit, or you're not sure about a bullfinch, then there are 2 secret birds that will be coming. So when we bring the pigeon, there's 1 secret bird, and then later on in the year there'll be another secret bird. And then at the end of it, we're going to sell a panel that's got all of the sashing strips, the coordinating inner squares and outer squares, so that you can make the whole quilt. Or you can just buy the panels as you go along. We've tried to keep it quite open so that you can have lots of choices. So you can have the panel on its own, the instructions on its own. And remember, every month there will be a new set of instructions, and they will work with any of the birds, because all the birds are the same size. All the panels, that's the Wren panel on its own, all the panels have a 10.5-inch bird and 5 complementary strips of fabric, and they have 2 labels. So therefore all the instructions will work only the panels. So if you want the instructions on their own, you can just buy those, because as I said, you don't have to use them with the panel. All the measurements are in the instructions. They're produced by me and Amy for Amber Makes, and normally when we do instructions we don't put measurements on them because they go with panels, but these have all the measurements on them, everything that you need, and pictures, and it's got how to do that clever technique of marking the ruler, and how to do it. I even used my pink cutting mat for the background, so it's quite pretty. But everything you need to know there. So if you want to make a cushion using a 10-inch square, maybe it's a tea towel, it's your favourite piece of embroidery, it's some applique, all sorts of things. Or just fabric that you like, or a memory cushion. Maybe you've got a shirt or something that you want to do, or baby clothes, or something very special that you want to frame. This will work. We work with it. So that's all the combinations. I've got some brand new fabrics as well. You know how we buy fabrics? I bought some fabric, I think must be over 20 years ago. It's brushed cotton and it's got farmyard animals on it, and I've still got it. I just can't use it. It's just the loveliest thing, and I bought a metre of it. I think it's about 20 years ago and I still haven't used it. So use your fabric. Right. So I've got some lovely fabric here. So these are your sort of lovely fabrics that you can use for framing things. Oh, I mustn't lose my ruler. Just tidying up a bit. This panel here. Whoa, look at this. Brand new today. Lighthouses. That's really, it's lovely, isn't it? It's got postcards. It's got, so in the centre of it, let me show you. You've got a great big lighthouse. It's a very big panel for only £12.99. So in the centre of it, you've got the lighthouse with all the postcards, and it's framed with like a wooden frame. And then round the outside, there's lots of little postcards, and it's very vintage retro. You could use it as a whole panel, and you could just quilt that. Beautiful. Or you could take out different elements of it. So you could use this, and say you liked the lighthouse, or you liked particularly one of the postcards on it, you could use that to frame and to make into a cushion, or you could just quilt it. It's very vintage. I really like that. It looks like the kind of poster you'd see on a train station, doesn't it? No, I've always wanted to stay in a lighthouse, only because I'd like to stay in a lighthouse in November when all the wind and the waves are crashing. Be brilliant, wouldn't it? Yeah, with a nice coffee. I wonder if they have wood burners in a lighthouse. I'd like a wood burning stove and a nice coffee. Box of chocolates, and watching the watching all the waves crashing. But that's just, I really love. There's only single figures of that left. It would make it lovely. It is very vintage, but it's very seasidey, isn't it? And look, I like, that one there is Brighton. I've just noticed an interesting one. Beachy Head Lighthouse, Brighton, Sussex, Eastbourne. There's one, Bressay Lighthouse in the Shetland Islands. Wow, now I'd like to go and stay there. I bet that one has got some serious wind and rain on it. And that one's the Isle of Wight. I'm laughing at that. Hannah was telling me the story of the Call the Midwife, where the lady gave birth. She did, in the lighthouse on the Shetland Islands. I remember that, actually. Yeah, and they had to have the little boat, and he went across. I think it was a Christmas special. Yeah, they got the boat over to the lighthouse. I bet it was that one. There's the Isle of Wight, Catherine's Point Lighthouse. That looks very close to the rocks, isn't it? I want to stay in one of those. It is to laugh, nothing but fun. But then some of them are American lighthouses. What's that one? Oh, that's the Scilly Islands. Bishop Rock Lighthouse. Does anyone live in a lighthouse? If you do, can I come and stay? In fact, and Hannah as well, because she would like to stay in a lighthouse. Would you mind if Hannah and I came to stay when we're allowed to? Right, I've got some more panels here. Let's have a look at this one. Now, these aren't panels. Actually, these are fabrics by the half metre. So this is a bit of an example where, you've got that favourite piece of fabric you haven't used for 20 years. But you can frame it into a cushion. Oh, look at these. Now, this is very 1970s. We used to have some of these. Do you remember everyone's bathroom had these? I don't even know what they are. They're like round. I don't know. We have them in our bathroom. What are they for? Are they for like showing where things are in the sea? But they were glass circles with like stringy net round them. And I don't know whether maybe they were used for like, you have something to show where the lobster pots are. Everyone had them in their bathrooms in the 70s. We definitely did. I like those. And then shells, and you've got a bit of coral, and you've got more lighthouses. I wonder when, New England kind of lighthouse. But again, this is something lovely to frame, isn't it? You could use them for fussy cutting. You could just cut out the individual thing. They would look lovely. If you wanted to make a quick greetings card, you could cut out one of these squares and then just sew them onto one. Like that one. So that's £6.99 for a half a metre. If you want more than a half metre, if you wanted to make a summer's dress from it, imagine how fab that would be. Look lovely as a skirt of a dress. If you want more than half a metre, we cut our fabric to order. So if you want to say 1.5 metres, you put 3 units in your basket, then you will get 1.5 metres because it is all cut to order. Storage tubs. Yes. Here's another one. Ooh, I like this. This is like little postcards. Oh, can you remember the summer? Remember that time when it's hot and you don't have to wear shoes? Do you remember then? I love it. So if you look at it, it's lots of little photos, like little postcards of different things. But here and there, look, there's heart-shaped sunglasses and a flamingo and a pelican and a turtle. There's loads of really interesting on things. But it looks sort of very scrapbooking, isn't it? So if you were making something like a memory box, it'd be really good for that. Or, you know, like a memory quilt, or be really lovely for the border of something. It's really interesting. Very good. Someone's just said that they're floats for fishing nets. Oh, floats that fishermen use on their nets. I thought there was something like that. They weren't. They were just really popular in the 1970s, people to hang in their bathrooms, because we definitely had one. And there's a whale. I was going to say shark, but he's not a whale. But this is lovely. So it's brilliant for fussy cutting. Imagine if you wanted to do some EPP. There's so many different elements. If you would just use, oh, look, they've got the same floats. But if you were doing something like, say, cathedral window patchwork, you know, where you get the different element and it's all framed, you could take out small elements. Some of them are even stamps. So, but it would be a brilliant, brilliant blouse. Spring blouse. Imagine a pair of jeans, denim skirt, and this is a blouse. Look amazing. Amazing. Hawaiian shirt. But you remember the summer when you didn't have to wear socks or shoes? Now, there is only 4.5 metres left of this. So if you want it, you need to get it in your basket. And here's another one. Again, available by the half metre, which is the last one from this collection. Oh, let me turn it around. What have we got on here? This is called Exotic Travels. It's very masculine ships, isn't it? Because it's all vintagey. But it's lovely. So you've got these old sort of line drawings that are they're not black and white, they're sepia and white. I like the teal colour you've got round the edge. But then here and there, like with the other fabric, you've got smaller elements. So you've got a crab sitting on a fish. Do crab eat fish? Because it looks, the crab is either, oh no, he's a lobster. That's not a crab. He's hanging out with the fish. That's the lobster and the fish playing a little game. Or the lobster's eating the fish. No. It is, yes, it's like in the study. It'd be lovely to cover a notebook with this. If you had like a little A5 notebook, bit of wadding, line it, be beautiful, wouldn't it? Or just a, cushion. If you're thinking about, you want to bring a bit of the seaside in, but it is just very classy. You've even got, I love this print here with the old fisherman. It'd be really nice to make a Roman blind for the bathroom. Again, I always think of, when you see these pictorial prints, I always think of them as clothing. I'm going to make a fantastic dress. Bit mad. But it's really simple, just a tote bag. Or, sometimes things like this make really nice lining. So if you made a tote bag from denim, lovely lining for it as well. Pin board, maybe you make a pin board, one of those that you put in the kitchen and then you have like bits of ribbon across it. It'd be brilliant for that. Bit of organisation. Storage tubs, I like that. But again, great for fussy cutting because there's lots of little, look at that one there, that's a lovely little element there. You get loads of different bits for half a metre. So if you wanted to do a bit of fussy cutting, that's perfect. That's all the fabrics from that collection. Oh, the panel, yes. So the panel that we started with, there's only 2 left, and that's one of them. So there are only 2 of those sea scenes panels left. Okay. The British icons. Now I love this one. Brilliant dress. I'm not going to say that again. No, this is British Icon. So again, it's lovely as an all over print, but fantastic for cutting. So this is covering the whole of the British Isles. So we have got, where do we start? We have got the Welsh Dragon. We've got the Welsh Lady as a Russian doll. I know. I don't know what the name of that is. It those stacking dolls, but that's the Welsh Lady. You've got Ireland, the Shamrock. I need to have a look at this really carefully. You can see all of them. You've got all the different symbols of England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. Suitcases for general travel. We've got the Union Jack, Scottish Thistle, the Bagpiper. This is brilliant. This has got covers everything. Fish and chips. Is that English or British? I don't know. British. You've got the Celtic Cross, cup of tea. Hang on, where's that one? Can I see that there? Look, cup of tea. Suitcases. You've got a little travel tag. That must be for writing your diary. The old bookshop, we've got British stamp. But, you know, for a quilt or even a quilt back to make it really special, maybe if you've got family that live abroad or you do, you know, and you want to make something really special it is very British because it's got small icons from everything. If you want to do some EPP, these are small enough to put in the centre of them. But soft toy making as well. If you want to make a British teddy bear. Be lovely, wouldn't it? You can make little clothes for dolls with it. But the tiny little parts of it. Oh, there's Stonehenge. Actually, every time you look at it, you find something else. I hadn't noticed Stonehenge to start with. But it's lovely. It really brings back lovely memories of different places you've been. It's got postcards and train tickets. I like that one. Can you see that one there? Try a 99. Enjoy with a real chocolate flake. Six pence. Don't think they cost 6 pence anymore. I wonder why they're called 99s. Because, this one's 6 pence, so they can't be 99p, can they? I don't know why they call that. And then you've got the edge of the coastline. It's a very clever print because you've got all these little icons when you look really careful. Armenthwaite Hall, Keswick. That's just like so that you've even got the Lake District there as well. But you could use it for, use the print as a whole because it's a really lovely print, but it has got all of those different elements if you want to cut them out and use them for other things. It is do you remember those holidays we used to have? Do you remember going away on holiday? I think I did once. Yeah. Well, that's what happened when you went away on holiday. You visited places like this. So this is a really good way of reminding you. But when we can go back on holiday, you can make yourself a travel pouch and your passport cover, cushions in your caravan, all of that with these British prints, little present for someone. If you've bought something for a gift for someone, you're going to send it abroad, make them a little drawstring gift bag out of this. Or again, notebook cover, wash bag, I think a teddy bear would be really nice, but I like that print. And I think it will help us remember that we did used to have holidays once upon a time. Oh, yes, but we've got an announcement today, haven't we? I'm very excited about that. Yes, this is the last lockdown ever, and this is our roadmap to the future. Looking forward to that. Yes, and there will be Boris with his British flags behind him, just like this fabric. We should send him some of our fabric. You could have one of these. In fact, someone should make Boris a shirt out of one of these, shouldn't they? I think it would make the briefings more fun if he wore a Union Jack Hawaiian type shirt. It would. I think, he always has those Union Jacks behind him on sticks, doesn't he? I love these because it's really clever. They actually look like they're rippling. This is a nice quality fabric. I mean, it's pure cotton. It's always pure cotton, isn't it? By Nutex. But it's very soft. It's quilting weight cotton, but it's ever so soft. I really like it. I don't know how they get the movement in it. It's all wibbly lines, but there's bits of grey. But it's bunting, making cushions for your garden. Maybe we'll have street parties again one day. Be fantastic for that. If you just wanted to make... as soon as that sunlight comes and there's a bit of warmth, we're all going to be outside. This is brilliant for outdoor cushions. Make some bunting for outside. Dog, one of those dog door stops. The dog door stops would be brilliant in that, wouldn't it? I really like the colours as well because it's not your traditional Union Jack colour that's a very dark blue. It's a really bright and cheerful blue. You can make a big banner for the outside of your house. It is lovely though, isn't it? Make a dress. Be like the Spice Girls. It could be that dress, Jerry Halliwell's dress. Could be like that, couldn't you? But lots of accessories and things. It's one of those fabrics that's just nice to have your stash, but unlike me, do use it. You could use it for the centre of a cushion. You know the patchwork cushion I've got? If you put red, blue and white squares, half square triangles, you could have a star all around the outside. Lining, maybe you're making or picnic blanket. Make a lovely picnic blanket, even if it was just the backing of it or the board around the outside. But it's lovely. When you go out and have your picnic and you take some rubbish old blanket with you, make your own. You can buy, because I made a picnic blanket for my daughter for Christmas, and I bought waterproof lining for the back of it. So I just used a normal fabric for the front and quilted it, and then I backed it with a waterproof lining, and then you've got a picnic blanket. But that's really good fun. When you get out, when we can go outside and meet up with people, and you get your picnic blanket out and you get your sandwiches, everyone's going to be envious. Proms, outdoor festivals, waistcoat, yeah. Waistcoat. Be great for those fancy dress parties. Make the dress, make the waistcoat. Do you remember parties? Do you remember other people? No. Remember other people and parties and festivals. Well, you see, we've got to be ready. We are. The roadmap's coming today. We're all going to be ready. And when we've got our fabric, we'll be super ready. We've also got, for the Scottish lovers and the Scots, and anyone who just wants to remember going to Scotland when we were allowed out. That's lovely, isn't it? But actually, I know it's Scottish flags, but unlike the Union Jack really looks like flags, this is just a really nice print fabric as well, isn't it? I like the blue because it's got different shades. I think that's how they get the movement in the flags. You sort of got the darker blue and the slightly lighter. But, nice little hampers for people, little bags. But nice to have the Scottish flag, isn't it? We must see if we can get hold of the Welsh one as well. That'd be nice, the Welsh one as well. But we've only got the Scottish one. But that's lovely, isn't it? So this is available by the half metre. If you want, it's something that's not that easy to find. I haven't seen Scottish flag fabric before. So if you want more than half a metre, then you need to put that. So if you want 4 metres, you need to put 8 units in your basket. We cut our fabric to order. So whatever you want, you will be sent as a continuous piece. You wouldn't be sent all half metre pieces because it's all sits in our warehouse on shelves in bolts and rolls. And then the ladies cut it all up. In fact, I watched them the other day and I was, I like that. I said, I need to go back and do some work because they've just got big tables and cutting mats and rotary cutters and they're just cutting all the orders up. But it's so nice. I said, it's a good job I don't do that job. It'd be like working in a sweet shop. But all your fabric is cut to order. Now, remember, at the moment, because of the current restrictions, obviously we've had to reduce the number of warehouse staff and the number of ladies and men who are cutting fabric. So we can't guarantee you will get your deliveries as quickly as we normally do. I mean, we are trying, we're doing different shift patterns, different things, but just to make you aware, and I think every internet websites are having problems at the moment because we've got to keep our staff safe. We want to still deliver everything to you, but we have to keep people safe. So we've had to reduce our warehouse staff. So please be patient with us if it takes a little longer, a few more days extra than your normal delivery. And that's why, we rather be honest with you. So with the pigeon today, we are having supply issues. So we didn't want to sell it to you today and then it take a couple of weeks to come. But as soon as we can get the pigeons back and the surprise bird, we will be doing bird of the month. So don't worry. So we have got coming up in just a couple of minutes, Sallieann is back with the garden quilt. Can we see a picture? Okay, we'll see it in a minute. We have got a picture. Hannah's just struggling with her systems. So Sallieann is going to be demonstrating how to make this garden quilt, which is really clever. It's a way of joining strips together and then you cut them all at angles, similar to the method I just used. And then you join them all back together. Look, there's a picture. Got the picture now. Yes. And then you join them all back together at angles. So we've got kits with the instructions and all the fabrics that you need to make this quilt. It's really stunning, isn't it? Very clever. Quite like that. And really good price point as well. So I'll see you back here in a couple of minutes with Sallieann making the garden quilt. You are all invited to join us for Vicky's baby shower on Wednesday the 24th of February. We have a bumper day planned for you with lots of baby makes from both Sewing Street and Yarn Lane from 8 a.m. right up until 4 p.m. You can watch us on Sky 670, YouTube and Facebook Live for the full 8 hours. Or, if you watch on Freeview 72, just tune in as normal from 8 a.m, then you can watch on YouTube or Facebook Live from 1 p.m. Send your messages and advice for the mum-to-be to studio@sewingstreet.com and we'll read them out to Vicky on the day. And don't forget to put Wednesday the 24th of February in your diary for lots of oohs and ahs and plenty of treats thrown in too.
In need of a crafting fix? There are so many ways you can watch Sewing Street and Yarn Lane. Sewing Street is live from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day on Freeview 72 and Sky 670. Alternatively, if you want to watch us on a tablet or on the move, you can tune in on our YouTube channel, the Sewing Street app, or the websites at www.sewingstreet.com and www.yarnlane.com. You can watch past shows on Sky 670 from 1 p.m. every day, as well as our YouTube channel, the app, and our website. Yarn Lane is on from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Visit our programme guide to find out when and what's on. So you never have to spend a minute without us.
Hi, my name is Yvonne McAtamney. My passion is patchwork and quilting, and it's also my privilege to own Village Fabrics patchwork and quilting shop in Wallingford. My sewing life began before I went to school, certainly, and probably before I could read. My mum was always a sewer, and with two big sisters, every weekend there would be a new dress made, and I was allowed to do certain pieces, and as I got older, I started to make some dresses. My top tip is you don't have to be able to draw to design. The place that I always start is with a children's colouring in book. They have good bold outlines, and then you can trace that and adapt to your heart's content. Anybody can do it. My claim to fame is that last year, when things were good, we had Jenny Doan from Missouri Star Quilt Company come and do a meet and greet at my shop in Wallingford. We had a really enjoyable day and good fun was had by all. So I hope I'll be popping into your living rooms on a regular basis as we go forward with Sewing Street here. We are intending to bring you some absolute beginner kits as well as some of our more intricate designs. See you soon.
Have you heard about all of the different ways you can shop with Sewing Street and Yarn Lane? You can either shop on our websites, sewingstreet.com and yarnlane.com. You can also order by phone by calling our friendly UK customer service team. For Sewing Street, call 0800 001 4433, and for Yarn Lane, call 0800 4700 600. And don't forget about the Sewing Street app. Here you can shop all of the Sewing Street products as well as watch the live shows from anywhere. You can download the app onto your smartphone or your tablet by simply searching Sewing Street in your app store. And one final thing, no matter how many times you check out on Sewing Street or Yarn Lane in one day, you will only pay one postage and packaging. Happy shopping!
You are all invited to join us for Vicky's baby shower on Wednesday the 24th of February. We have a bumper day planned for you with lots of baby makes from both Sewing Street and Yarn Lane from 8 a.m. right up until 4 p.m. You can watch us on Sky 670, YouTube and Facebook Live for the full 8 hours. Or, if you watch on Freeview 72, just tune in as normal from 8 a.m, then you can watch on YouTube or Facebook Live from 1 p.m. Send your messages and advice for the mum-to-be to studio@sewingstreet.com and we'll read them out to Vicky on the day. And don't forget to put Wednesday the 24th of February in your diary for lots of oohs and ahs and plenty of treats thrown in too. And welcome back to Sewing Street, and we have got beautiful quilts for you and really, really good price point as well. So there is enough fabric to make, I'm going to just check, the whole quilt. Here's an image of it here, which is 36 by 45 inches. It's quite a good size. So that's 3 foot by nearly 4 foot. So that's a good lap quilt throw, I'd say. But to make it achievable, so that even if you're new to quilting and you want to have a go and you want to make something, this would be good. Use it as a throw, put it on the sofa, use it as a picnic blanket. It's not like, it's not double bed size, but you could use it for a cot size. But for under £50, everything. Sallieann is going to go through all of it today with us so you can see exactly how you make this quilt and how it's done. All the instructions come with the quilt. I'm just going to go through the fabric first. I love this. So it's just really, I need to open it out so you can see it better. So you get 1 metre of enchanted flowers. Really nice. So let me just lay it down so you can actually see it. Really nice mottled grey background, but when you look really closely, there's lots of tiny illustrations over it. There's like concentric rings, like a tree cut in half here and there. The colours in it are really lovely muted shades of mustard and blue and coral. It's it's one of those things. It's not really seasonal. It's not spring, summer, autumn. And I feel like it would go in most settings. So it would look really lovely in the lounge on your sofa, because it's just very neutral tones, but quite contemporary colours. I think it's a nice mixture of that chambray blue with mustard yellow and the odd pop of deep coral here and there on the grey background, because a lot of the fabrics and a lot of the colourways at the moment in our interiors have become more neutral. But I think everyone's going back to the 70s a bit of the 70s vibe. There's a lot of mustard and orange and brown coming into soft furnishings at the moment. So I think people are returning to it. And if you look at a lot of the patterns, they are quite 70s and quite more naive shapes than we used to have. And so I think this will fit in really well. I think it's probably partly due to the sort of the Scandinavian influence that we've got at the moment, this sort of Marimekko feel. I think that's come into our interiors like this. So you get 1 metre of that, and then this is in the same fabric collection. What's this one called? Garden. So that's called Flowers, and this one's called Garden. So this has, I'm going to lay that on top, so you get 1 metre of that. Really lovely deep cream that are very, very stylish. In fact, I'm going to turn it round. Feel like it's upside down. Well, no, on its side. So look at this one. But this is very stylish. It is very Scandinavian, isn't it? With this, the way the trees are drawn with the birds, little snails. I mean, this is very natural. It's not childish. It is. I mean, it's fun. So you've got snails, birds, hedgehogs. But it isn't childish. It kind of covers all sorts. So it would be, I mean, you could use it for a child's room, but it does feel very tablecloth as well. I'd really want this one in the kitchen. I like that. No, it's a really, really nice fabric, but it does feel 70s where you get all this sort of the colour blocks. But what I like about when some of the styles from other decades come back, they've always got a different twist and a slightly better spin on them. So when they come back, they've used that as an influence, but then updated it a bit. So a lot of this is very line drawing. This wouldn't be in the 70s, but they've used that influence. So I mean, it's nice when some of the things come back from the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Probably not the avocado bathroom. Let's hope that never comes back. Sallieann's laughing because she obviously had an avocado. We had an avocado bathroom. And we had a chocolate bathroom. Imagine trying to clean a chocolate brown bathroom. And what was that? Do you remember the blue? Everyone had that blue. It was like a turquoise bathroom.
Yeah.
Let's hope the avocado bathroom with the shag pile carpet never
long
comes
gone.
back. We all had one of those, didn't we? But it's nice when they bring things back from other decades, but it has that more modern spin on it. And it is, you know, like all the Marimekko oilcloths and the homeware. That's what this feels like. So it's very modern. And then you get half a metre, I think, of this one, which is lovely, isn't it? Because it's the same as that one, but it's just all the animals. But it's got, I can't work out the which, that's the way up. It's got the spirals from the logs, which is on the background of the grey one. You've got birds, hedgehogs, snails. But it is very next at home. Really, but they are just really lovely. I mean, it's interesting that they've been created as quilt weight fabrics, but it does make you think very much of homeware. But that's what's lovely, is that so when you make this into your quilt, it will fit into your home. But it'd be brilliant for a picnic quilt. I keep talking about picnic quilts. Maybe that's my desire for the summer to come back. But it would make a really nice picnic quilt with the waterproof backing on. And for less than £50. Oh, also, there's one extra one. A metre of this striped fabric, which you might think, why have I got a whole metre of this striped fabric? Well, it's used very cleverly in the design. It joins together different elements, and you'll see this in a minute when Sallieann goes through it. It's the same blue that's picked up in the two fabrics, but it's just that sort of juxtaposition of the floral and the intricacy of the line drawing against the more traditional stripe. It just works really, really well. So those are all the fabrics in the quilt, hiding underneath it. You also get the instructions, very important. That's all together. You don't have to buy the instructions separately. The instructions come with it. For less than £50, you get all of that. So here's the instructions. Gives you all the how to cut out all the different things you need, so you don't have to think about it too much. This clever system of cutting, which Sallieann's going to explain to us about how to make the blocks. So you join all the strips and then you cut them and then you join the whole thing together. So it's actually quite simple because it's broken down. So this is something you want to do and you like that angular way it's done, and you'll see in a minute with the finished bits that Sallieann's done. It's also, I think sometimes when you make a quilt like this that's got all these lines and blocks, it's much easier to quilt. If you're a beginner and you don't want to do all over patterns, you can just quilt along the line. So anyway, even the binding, everything you need to do, you need to know is in here. They've also given you some links for YouTube tutorials like quilting and binding, which is quite useful. So that's all in there, everything you need. Now, if you've already checked out on that, and well done, there's a lot of you who have this in baskets, which I'm not surprised about because it's exceptionally good value for the size of a quilt that you get. And this fabric is stunning. I haven't seen that before. Do we sell this fabric on its own, Hannah? She's just going to check. We do have a little bit that you can buy by the half metre. You need to put Enchanted Garden into the website. The majority of the fabric that we have is in the kits. We do have a very small amount of it on the website, just by the half metre if you want to, but the kits are going fast. It's beautiful. But it is very contemporary homeware, and I think that's what's so lovely. But if you want to make a present for somebody in a couple of months' time, or if you're a really quick quilter in a week's time, what a lovely gift to have a completed quilt like this, because it would be, I think sometimes these smaller quilts are so useful. You can just keep them in the car, use them for picnics, for when you go camping. You can use them, on a cooler evenings if you're outside. We've also got some backing fabric. So if you want to make it into a quilt and you need to back it, we've got 3 different bundles. These are just our normal 44-inch width fabric, but they're pre-cut into 3 metre length pieces. So at $19.99, that's 3 metres. So obviously what you'd need to do is cut it in half and then join it to make the full width of the quilt. But 3 metre bundles. We've got it in dark grey, which is the one that's on the screen at the moment. And then we have light grey, I mean, at 3 metres of fabric for 19.99, that's just a brilliant bundle to have, even if you're not making the quilt and you just need it because you need some backing fabric, or it's just really useful. Pale grey, really good sort of blender fabric if you're doing any other sort of quilting and you want just a very neutral, soft fabric to go with things. I always think grey goes with most fabrics better than other colours. Very contemporary. And then we've also got the 3 metre bundle of white. But again, ideal for backing and all those backing and binding, background fabric, sashing. If you're making a quilt with squares and panels and you want some sashing and some borders, 3 metres, 19.99. So that's ideal. And finally, the ruler. Now, right, so this is the ruler. Well, that Sallieann's good. Well, she's using a slightly different one. But you need a ruler that's bigger than 10 inches. And this is the one in order to do this technique. So this is ideal for it because this is a 12-inch square. You don't have to have a ruler that's 10-inch square, but it makes it a lot easier to do the method. So anything that's bigger than the 10-inch square, that's the one, 23.99. That's perfect for this technique, but, you know, general cutting as well, because you've got, well, it's 12.5 inches. So it's creative grids. You've got the lovely textured border around the edge, so it means it doesn't slip, and all the spots on it keeps it even. And because you've got the diagonal line down the middle, they've put the textured spots either side, which really keeps it nice and stable. And all the markings, and it's lovely that round the edge of it, on this side, on that side, you've got the 1/4 inch seam allowance marked, but with a dotted line. So if you're having to cut, maybe you're trimming things and you need to cut a 1/4 inch outside of it, you know that the dotted line is for that. That's the best thing about the creative grids. They also have a QR code, so if you scan that takes you to a tutorial about how to use it. But everything you need is on there. It's got the diagonal line through the middle. So this is a really multi-purpose ruler, but the one that similar that Sallieann will be using. Anyway, now we've been through all the fabrics. Let's get on with demo. Welcome back. So, what did you think of the pattern then when you read it through?
Well, when I actually saw the quilt on the outside of the pattern, I haven't seen anything like it before, and I was taken aback as to how it was put together.
It looks really complicated.
Because it looks complicated,
doesn't it?
and I must admit, the first time I looked at it, I mean, where you can see that square, I thought, well, you probably just start with that square and then start building out.
Yes.
But I was totally wrong.
That's what it looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like that you start sort of, radiating out from the centre.
The square's not in the middle as well.
Yeah, offset. Yeah, it makes it more interesting, doesn't it?
Cool, isn't it?
Yes,
Bit
trendy.
modern. I really like this quilt.
Yeah, so the quilt is actually made from one block, and this is one block.
Wow,
So
see that doesn't...
That is amazing, isn't it?
That doesn't look like one block at all.
So shall I just shimmy it
So
up
where
a bit?
do you... Yeah, so that is just...
That is it. You just make 20 of those.
Okay. Wow, that's brilliant, isn't it? And I guess once you've got the instructions, you can keep making them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very beginner friendly.
Okay.
One thing I would definitely say, and you can begin to see what's happening already with mine, is spray starch it. So
Right.
because of the way that you subcut these from a strip set, you end up with a bias edge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a bit unstable.
So it's a little bit unstable. But if you spray starch or best press, flatter, spray starch, whatever way you want to go, before you cut.
Right.
Okay.
So you
That
get
will
all your
help you.
fabrics, give them a press, spray starch them.
Yep.
And then
Then you
cut.
start. Yeah.
Okay.
So in the pattern, it tells you how to cut the strips and what
Okay.
size to cut the strip sets.
Oh,
So-
yeah, 8 strips of
Yeah.
8, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off by joining up a strip set, and then I'm going to use my rather ginormous ruler.
You've got a massive, yes.
I know.
But it needs
That's
to
why I
be
was
bigger than
laughing.
10 inches.
It needs to be bigger than 10, but mine is,
Yeah.
15.
Okay.
So we're going to have a little bit of fun with my ruler.
So can you do it without that ruler?
So you could make like a freezer paper template, couldn't you?
Okay, yeah.
That
yeah.
would be a way of doing it, but it would be a bit of a faff.
Right.
Because you'd be peeling it off, putting it down, peeling it off. putting it
Yeah,
down.
that's true.
Okay. Anyway, let's start off by making the strips.
So you've cut all. So you cut all the fabric into all the strips.
Yes.
That it says
Yep.
first. Okay. I'm going to
Okay.
follow the instructions.
Right, so I'm going to work from the centre outwards. So this is which one's this one? This is the little hedgehogs. Yeah. So I'm going to work.
See, the stripe works really well with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love the little stripe. It picks up the blues, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's when you first look at the bundle, you think, why have you got this and then the stripe? But actually, that blue is the same colour as the blue in the print. And I quite like the mixture of the stripes and the florals and the fact they go horizontally.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
It's
it really does go.
A little accent, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to sew the middle first. So these are all width of fabric, strips. And I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam. I would use like a size 12 at 80/12 needle and a 2.4 stitch length.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to know, I'm a big fan of Microtex needles as well.
Okay.
Throw that out there.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. So she decided to eat it. Here we go. Come on. Right.
And they've got on the instructions, there's video tutorials everywhere. There's a video tutorial for making the blocks on YouTube, and all the links are on here as well, which is really useful. Did you watch it? Is it?
I must admit, I haven't watched the videos. But if you were a complete beginner, if I was you, I'd read the whole thing and watch the videos before you start.
Right. Yes, that would make more sense, wouldn't it? So the quilt, this quilt that we've got the fabric for is 36 by 45.
Yeah.
But it's a bit like a knitting pattern. In brackets, you can make it a bigger one, 54 by 63.
Yep, we can make it bigger.
But you'd obviously need more fabric for that. But once you've got the pattern, if you want to make a bigger size, then it tells you how much. Does it tell you? Yeah, it tells you how much fabric you need if you want to make the bigger quilt.
I would imagine also if you played around with it on a design wall that there are other combinations that you could come up with than that one, didn't you? Perhaps a couple of squares.
Yeah, you could use other fabrics, couldn't you?
Yeah.
To make it bigger. So the instructions do explain how to make the 36 by 45, which is the one that you'll do, but also 54 by 63.
I haven't bound anything, so I don't know whether it includes the binding, but I was trying to talk over the same machine. I was also looking at the backing that you had and wondering whether you could, because the grey backing would look.
No, well, you need how many? You've got enough here because this stripe.
Oh right, okay.
Is for the blocks and the binding, so there is enough fabric to bind the quilt as well.
Right.
And you use the stripe, so that's quite nice.
Yeah.
And it's cut so that so it's all done horizontally vertically, like the same way that's done vertically. But it's great, isn't it? It's nice to have the kit, and then you get to keep the instructions. And if you want to make a bigger one, you can.
Yeah. Saying that, I would imagine there's probably enough fabric there as well to make it bias if you wanted.
Yes.
Make a stripy bias binding, and then the stripes would be at an angle, wouldn't they?
Yeah, so you could choose which way you went.
You could use the molar method.
Use the molar method that we all know about now. And if you weren't watching at 8, you'll have to watch back to find out the molar method. So 1/4 of the stock has already gone. So if you want this quilt, which comes from thegourmetquilter.com. But the pattern's yours, isn't it? Once you've got the pattern, it's yours to keep forever. Some collector in Devon has said, would this be jelly roll friendly? No.
Sorry?
It wouldn't be jelly roll friendly, would it? Because they're not all 2.5 inches.
No.
I mean, obviously, you could use the technique, but then it wouldn't be the same size of this. it wouldn't be the same effect. You could use this technique because you could use jelly rolls within it.
Yes.
And narrower strips, but then you'd have to really think about this. But the strips are wider than jelly rolls, so you wouldn't be able to make this quilt with them. No, they're bigger than that. And I guess the larger quilt, it's the same size block, you just make more of them.
Yes, I don't know how many blocks are in the larger one.
There are 42 blocks in the larger one and 20 in the smaller one. And it's just extended, so that centre square is still offset, but there's just more round it. So it's been designed by Susan Clare from the gourmetquilter.com, but she's obviously designed it using these Nutex fabrics, which is fantastic. Because sometimes you see these fabric collections, I don't know what am I going to do with that then? Don't know what to do with it. But it works perfectly on this. I think for me, I would use it as a picnic quilt.
As a what?
Picnic quilt.
No, you said picnic.
Only because I'm hoping
I think
for
it'd look
sun
great in a
cupboards.
conservatory as
Yeah,
well.
it would, yes. But I think it will fit a lot of interiors.
Okay, so I'm just going to set the seam and then press them outwards to one side.
So you join all of the strips.
So it's a strip set of 5, isn't it? 5 strips.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's quite well done the way that they have got every step, if it's the bigger quilt, it's just in brackets like a knitting pattern. So it's very easy.
Perhaps she's a knitter.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder whether she is.
What is it? She's called the Gourmet Quilter, isn't
Yeah.
she? I wonder whether she's got another brand, the Gourmet
Oh,
Knitter.
The gourmet, I have to find it. Yeah. Susan Clare, the Gourmet Quilters from New Zealand. So half of the stock has now been checked out, even not even just popped in a basket, actually checked out. So, and the light grey quilt backing bundle, whereas you've got the 3 meters of fabric, there's only 4 of those left. So if you want one of those, you need to put that in your basket and check out, obviously. So do you press your seams open or to one side?
So I'm just pressing them to one side so that it's traditional and it's meant to be to stop the wadding, bearding, what they call bearding through to the top.
Coming through.
Yeah.
Yes. Does that mean coming through the seams? Beard. Why do they call it that? I guess it's like a beard, isn't it?
Okay. Let's put the other 2 on now.
So you've got to follow the order as well, or it
Yes.
won't work.
Yeah, so you follow the order and you work it through.
So this print is very directional, isn't it? But it's still, obviously, it still works.
Yeah.
Well, the cream one is very directional. But it obviously works because it isn't. But when you look at how it works finished, it still works. Very clever. I do like this fabric.
If you if you didn't want to go for the stripy binding, much as I love it, and you were a beginner, you could do use the backing fabric and bring it to the front and bind it that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do you understand what I mean? So you
Yes.
just bring it in, fold it over.
If you didn't want to bind
yes. And that because the backing fabric coordinates so well, it would
Yeah.
give it
I think particularly this dark grey as well. I think
Yes.
if I was going to back it, I'd use this. But I think, like you're right, as a binding.
I mean, you might decide to use it as a wall hanging. So
It's a really nice edge,
Yeah,
that
then,
dark, isn't
yeah.
it? In fact, this dark grey is exactly the same colour as the trees in here. That's very nice. So if you bought that and you wanted to back it with it or bind it with it, that's a really good match. What colour is that? Is that slate grey? No, dark grey. Dark grey. No, we do a slate grey, but I think that's more bluey. That's just exactly the same colour. It's always charcoal's a much better colour than black for outlining things and for edges. It's just a bit softer, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it goes with everything as well.
Yeah. Like you said, it's very next home.
Very next to home, it is. But it is really, you know, it's when you look at different shops' collections of homeware, that it gives you a really good idea of what's popular, what people have got in their homes. It's a really good way of choosing colours for quilts and cushions and things, because you know what people are buying at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think this mustardy, almost like an ochre mustard, is really popular.
Right, so I'm just setting it again.
So do you press the seams as you do each one?
Yeah. Try and keep it as tidy as possible.
And you just have to make lots of sets of those?
Yes. She does tell you, I can't remember it, she does tell you how many sets in the pattern.
She does, yeah, and in brackets for the larger one.
Yeah. It is definitely a good way to hone your 1/4 inch seam.
Well, you've got a lot of 1/4 inch seams to be sewing here, so actually by the time you get to the end of it, you'll be very good at it. So do you always use a 1/4 inch foot, or do you use your seam?
I use a 1/4 inch foot.
Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah.
We couldn't find.
Where was the?
I always use a 1/4 inch.
Well, I
foot.
haven't got a 1/4 inch foot, so I don't use one. Obviously, I use my sewing machine plate.
No.
But if you've got a 1/4 inch foot, they're really useful because they have like a slight lip on them.
Well, this one's got a lip. Yeah. Not all of them have lips though, but you can get one with a lipped edge like this.
And then you just run that along the edge of the fabric. I suppose it depends on the make machine that you've got, doesn't it? Oh. Sorry, I just hit my mic. Oh, I've got all my cables caught on my pinafore. I've just got to tuck myself in. I bet everyone has problems with their cables and their pinafores. Not just me.
It's good for my balance because I'm balancing on one leg to do this.
I know, I
must admit, my right leg's getting kind of sore.
I have got better at sewing standing up. I really struggled to start with.
Yeah, it's definitely an art form.
Yeah.
Was it us that talked about extreme ironing as well?
No, I've not talked about extreme ironing.
Because that's sort of like a well-known, well, I say a well-known sport, a sport, isn't it? Doing your ironing in really strange places.
Yeah, why would you want? I don't understand that.
Oh, it's just exciting, isn't it? Halfway up Everest.
Yeah, why would you, there's nothing exciting about ironing. If I was going to.
But I don't know how anybody ever thought it up. You know,
Yeah,
what do
where
you
does
think
it
on a Sunday afternoon whilst you're doing your ironing? You think, I really need to do this halfway up a mountain. Or
Why would you? Yeah, of all the things, you could not think of something else. Extreme ironing. That's really odd. Well, just ironing's so tedious, isn't it? Maybe it makes it more fun, but you've got to carry all you want up the mountain then, haven't you? So there's only 20 of these left now. So if you want one, you just put it in your basket and check out before Sally finishes. And she's got a lot of strips to sew together.
Right, I'm not going to sew anymore. This is it. This is the set.
So that's one strip set.
Yeah. I've got others that I've pre-made, so for us to cut up.
Okay.
Right, so just press this last one.
But that's all 4 fabrics. I'm confused, can't put my bundle.
5. Well, 4 fabrics.
Yes,
yeah.
5 strips.
5 strips.
Right.
Right. Okay. try and flatten this out so we can start to cut it up. So in the pattern, she tells you about how to set up your ruler with a strip of sellotape to help you cut properly. So I've done the appropriate thing with my ruler. And then you just place it on your strip set. So let's try and get it straight as possible.
So that's why it's important that it's nicely pressed and nice and flat.
Yes.
So where does the line go? Does it go
Well,
on the bottom?
so it's interesting because this looks just slightly short, but we'll push it down. So, yeah, so the bottom of the line would go on the bottom of the fabric, yeah. But this looks like it's just slightly smaller. It's probably the way I was on one leg doing the strip
Well,
set.
also it's how you press it as well, isn't it? No, just that.
Okay.
Because the top point of it does come at the very top of the fabric.
Yeah. So you would start. I knew this ruler was going to cause me difficulties. Yeah, don't go for a ruler as big as mine.
Yeah, the one that we've got is slightly smaller. So these are 44-inch width fabrics.
Right, so that's the waist.
Yes. So Kim has just asked, what's the width of the fabric? It's just the normal quilting 44-inch, 112 centimetres. The ones in the backing bundles are the same width. So your standard quilting width fabrics. So the backing bundles, they're not extra wide fabric. That's just because there's 3 metres, there's enough to back a quilt. So you cut it in half and then join it back together again. And then you've got enough. But these are normal quilting, 112 centimetres, 44 inches width. So
I'm just working my way along the strip, cutting triangles. Yep. So you get 5.
So it's very economical.
Yep.
Because the point of that triangle is coming right on the edge of the fabric. You'd never be able to cut these triangles. You would never be able to piece together triangles like this. Extreme quilting, this is. Extreme cutting.
It is with this ruler.
Yes, with Sally's gigantic ruler. Remember how I said in the last hour about big rulers? It's nice to have a smaller. I mean, you need a decent size one, but it just needs to be more than 9.5 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, it says here it's very helpful to have a 9.5 inch square ruler for this.
I actually disagree with that statement.
Right.
And I would say it's easier because if you look at it in the picture, you need. Did she say a 9.5 or a 9-inch ruler?
9.5.
Okay, because it's very difficult to. Can you see whether in the placement of the ruler? I looked at this, and she's got that strip, that red strip further. Can you see?
Yes.
And then at the ends, because she's got no ruler left. Can you see what I'm getting at?
Yes.
So I think
you're actually 10 inches.
Yeah, so I
better.
think a 10 or 11 inches is going to be a lot better.
Yes, at least.
Yeah.
So this 12.5 one is perfect.
Yeah. Okay, let's try and.
I guess the thing is if you had a 9.5, it would be fine. You would just have to be careful.
Full, yeah. Just in that little last bit of the triangle, you'd lose some of your accuracy, I would think. Okay, so
you've got.
So I've cut 5 from the strip set. That was my one that I came with, which is slightly warped at the moment because I didn't spray starch it. And here are the 5 that I cut from the strip set.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to join
Oh, so you
those
join
together.
2 triangles together.
Yeah.
To make a square.
So I put a few pins in there. Stop it walking.
This is. You ever wonder who works all this out? Who sits down and goes, well, if I join them all
This,
together
yeah.
and then I cut them like this and then I join them all back together again, then I'll get this.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't know how you would do this. I guess it's a bit like a log cabin. You could do it like a log cabin, couldn't you? to get this effect. But this is much easier. Is that a straight edge? It is, isn't it? So where you're joining them together. It's not a bias edge.
No, it's a bias edge, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's take it out. Really?
No, I think it looks like the bottom.
Yes. Yeah, it's a straight edge.
So that makes it a bit easier because I thought it's quite a long line to join with a bias, but if it's a straight.
Let's do another one. So yeah, you can see that it's a straight edge. That's another thing I would say as well. It's worth, I mean, and you can see that I haven't taken enough. I'm shooting myself in the foot this morning, aren't I?
Yeah.
It's worth taking the time to get your fabric straight on the board so that when you cut your strips, they are straight with the warp, you know, with the the straight grain of the fabric. When you don't, you end up with something like I've got here, look, which is beginning to fray. Okay. So if you cut it on the true straight grain, then you don't get all that fraying, and it's stronger as well. When it starts to fray like that, it generally means it's going to warp a bit.
So it's not on the exact grain, but that's quite hard to do, though, isn't it? When you're cutting across a full width of fabric.
Yes, it is. But the trick is to get hold of it and put it selvage to selvage and sort of stand up and drop it. Yeah.
I'm gonna have a go.
You're gonna have a go, are you?
Right. So you fold it selvage to selvage.
So you put
it shake.
Yeah, and then put the selvages together, and put both your hands on the selvage. So put that's it.
Like that?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Not like that.
Like that. Okay, so and then sort of go between, if you put your fingers between the two.
Yeah.
And then sort of, you can see that the fabric will fall nicely then at the edge. You can see that is beginning to bubble just slightly one way.
Yeah, so that's not right.
So you've got to hold it by the
So
selvages.
you have to keep
shake it until it...
Right.
Yeah, which means that it might be slightly longer.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because sometimes this crease, comes off the bolt.
Exactly. The crease, sometimes is not...
It's not in the right place.
And you'll notice that your selvage goes...
Yeah. So you sort of have to shake the selvage.
So it's all about getting the selvages together.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, and letting it drape from there.
Until it looks right, okay.
Yeah, until you can see that it's draping right.
Yeah, because it might be, like you say, it doesn't look straight. But then, so when you then put that on your cutting mat.
Yeah, and you've starched it and
you'll get it cut straight.
You'll get it cut lovely and straight.
Yeah, because where this crease is now isn't right.
Yeah, people often assume that the crease is going to be right.
No, it's right on that end.
Yeah.
But that end it's not. And also, now I've not got it straight across there.
Yeah.
And the selvages don't sit exactly together, but it feels right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess when you're only dealing with a metre of fabric, that's quite easy to do, isn't it? Because you can just keep smoothing it out as well. So that it does lie nice and flat.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got, the bigger the board you can get, sort of cutting area, that makes a difference. You know, it's really difficult to cut things completely square and get them nice and flat and straight if you're only using a little board. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about yardage now. Like you've got there. If you want a big space. And
to be able to cut across. But it's interesting now that I've done that those two cut edges don't line up anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But you will find that.
But I know that that's right. I suppose if you just smooth it out as well, you can feel whether the selvages are coming together. The thing is this fabric, you know, it's like when it's printed, it's attached to the rollers and printed, and it gets wet as well. So things do move around a bit. And then do you press yours before you cut it?
Yes.
And starch it at this stage?
Yes, I would press and starch it.
And then put it on your cutting board?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's certainly easier to cut it folded. Oh, that's perfect now. That one's ready to go. So once you've cut all of those into triangles, then you join them all together in squares. So you've got a lot of squares then.
Yeah.
So you have 40 triangles in the end. And then keep pressing as you go along.
Yeah. Back to where we were.
That's amazing. I guess because you've joined them along the seam, it doesn't look like you've joined two triangles.
Yeah, it's because it's diagonal.
Yeah, so it just looks like... When I saw them, first of all, I thought you'd cut those out as a square. I thought, I can't work that out. I didn't realise they were triangles, then joined back together. But because they're along the seam line, you can't tell. And then it all matches up. That's amazing.
Yeah. So then you need to start joining them together.
And is it? I suppose is it important? Does it tell you what the arrangement is? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you start to follow the.
Yeah. So some go some way and some go the other.
So if I'm starting in the top left corner. She says. Am I? No.
So if you were doing, would you lay them all out first? Or would you just follow one row at a time?
I would, I don't know. I think I might lay them all out first.
I don't know. I suppose because they've got the picture, you could do them one row at a time, but then I would worry that I'd got them around the wrong way. But you could follow one row at a time, couldn't you?
You could do. Let's see what they...
Well, it depends whether you've got the space to lay them all out first.
Yeah.
Right, we're in our teens.
Oh.
For the bundle, that is, not Sallieann and I.
Oh, I wish we were.
But we wish
We've regressed this morning.
We do wish we were with our avocado bathrooms. But no, the kits are in their teens. So if you want one, you need to check out. Do the prints change direction when you join all these squares together?
Oh, I don't.
Because on this picture, it looks like that they don't. So because they're quite directional.
I don't know.
I can't work
Be a
it
way
out.
to find out.
Well, we're going to find out in a minute.
Yeah.
Because it actually doesn't look like they do.
So I put some extra pins in where things are meant to match up.
Oh, I suppose, yes, you've got to
diagonals,
make sure that these, each seam matches up together. So how do you do that? What's your best tip about matching seams?
Just use a lot of pins, really.
Okay. Well, because some people say, oh, well, when I've pressed the seams to one side, they just do. But when I do that, they don't just do. They sometimes do and they sometimes don't.
But that's not bad, what we've managed to achieve there. I think I might press it open there because there's a lot going on in that seam. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
So I think I might give that a little press open. One of the most important things, though, if you're making a one-block quilt, and this is what I would consider to be a one-block quilt, is to make them all the same. So you have the same process, because process-driven. So you cut it the same, you sew them the same, in the same order. And that way, that sort of production line approach means that it's going to fit together really well. When you stop and start and come back the next day and go, oh, well, I might do 2 today and 4 on Friday.
Yes. So do all your cutting, all your pressing, and do it like that way.
Yeah.
I mean, interestingly, she says you may want take note of the direction of the blocks to create the layout, but you may want to change the layout. This is your quilt. But if you change the layout, it'd be a completely different design, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
But, so maybe that's a good idea to lay them all out first, because then you could twiddle some round. And then you could really see what it looked like if you had a design wall. Would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yes, yeah, it's definitely one for a design wall. Let's see how far we can go across.
Would look nice in
Putting these
batiks as well, wouldn't it? Gradients of colours.
So these are the ones I made at home, which are a little bit bigger. But you can see beginning to come together. So that's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so I suppose, so you could change where they've got that sort of centre square offset. That could be in the middle if you wanted it to be. Because you could work with the centre square going outwards. Because depending on how you lay it out, that doesn't have to be offset. It could be in the middle.
It could be, yeah, absolutely in the middle. Or, I mean, you could lose the square completely and just have it go in diagonals, couldn't you?
But that's it. So I think that would be good, is to either lay it out on the floor. Some people lay them on their bed, don't they? Take the duvet off.
Yeah, it's a good idea. The trouble is, though, I spend ages then, don't you? I'd stand on the chair, look at the bed, and I look at it, and I change a few more around, and then there's like a cup of coffee.
It's a bit like, you know, when you've got to do it and it's got to be random.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing, isn't it? You go, that's not random. There's two of those there and one of those there. So then you move it around and then it's planned random now.
Planned random. Yeah. So yeah, but you can begin to see this is like the top line now beginning to come together, and there would obviously be another piece there. Yeah. So you'd sew it together a row of 4, and then you'd work your way down. Right. There are 5 rows of 4, and then you join all your rows together.
So the key really is getting these seams to match.
Yes, yeah, getting them to match. But if you use spray starch, that will help you quite a bit in keeping the fabric.
Okay.
Nice.
We've got a couple of questions. What are they, Hannah? What needle are you using?
What, in the machine?
Yes.
I don't know. It looks to me like it could be a 14.
What needle would you be using?
I'd use a 1280, but this feels more like a 14.
So what? Because it's fine, or
fine? Yeah.
Just an 80.
Yeah, an 80 is fine for patchwork. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and what's your website?
Oh, people still looking for the most. Okay, it's Sallieannquilts.com.
Okay, write that down. Sallieannquilts.com.
People are obviously finding it. I looked in the break, and people had downloaded, I don't know, 30. So
that's good.
It's obviously
that's
working.
Really useful. I'm going to download it. I'm going to keep that. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. That's a really, really lovely design, and it looks very complicated.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
If you gave that to someone, they think, my goodness,
wow,
this has
that's
spent hours.
Really, really clever. Yeah. But I mean, you know, you've shown it really well. I think the only thing is matching those seams.
Yeah.
And doing it all in processes,
yes.
like a production line.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's lovely. It's a really, really nice quilt. So thank you. So when are you back with us?
Not until the 22nd of March.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm having a little bit of a break.
A little bit of a break.
Yeah.
A month off.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll all be back to normal by then.
Let's hope
we'll all be
so.
on holiday. Or maybe not. Yes, I'll have loads of picnic rugs by then. So anyone who wants to come on a picnic with me, you can all have your own rug. Yeah, but that, you see, we'll all be allowed to have picnics by then, but we can all be on our own picnic rugs.
Or on separate rugs, yeah.
So, shall I just run through the quilts kit again? So, in the quilt kit, you get the full instructions. We are on single figures of these, so if you want it, you need to put it in your basket and check out, because it's not yours until it's checked out. So, you get all the instructions you need, and all the fabric you need, including the binding. There are 4 fabrics. There's the photo on the website for some reason misses out one of them, but you will get all 4, I promise. And if you don't, Hannah's phone number is... No, honestly, despite the fact she's not willing to give out her mobile number, they are, honestly, you will get 4 fabrics in your kit. So you get a metre of this lovely, like a mottled grey background with these really very stylish, stylised flowers, a bit Scandinavian, in blues and mustards and deep corals. Then you get a metre of the coordinating fabric with this lovely rich cream background using the same motifs but it's different. So you've got the tree that's not in this one, but the flowers are very similar and all the colours. These fabrics are all from a collection. They're not just random fabrics that we've put together. They are all from a collection. And it's lovely. It's very natural, but stylised natural. So you've got snails, hedgehogs, birds, lots of flowers, logs. But it's just really fun. And sometimes, animals don't always have to be childlike, and this certainly isn't. But obviously you could use it for that. The quilt that it makes is very much sort of throw lap quilt size or cot bed. That you could put it on the end of your bed. But it doesn't. It's that sort of size, but it doesn't have to be for. You could make it for a child, but I feel like it's more stylish. That will fit in with a lot of the bit more stylish than a child. No, not that children aren't stylish, but it certainly fits into the modern home interior. But it's not the colours that are in it and the motifs are very classic, and they will fit in with lots of different colours in your home as well because of the greys and the neutrals. Then you get 1/2 metre of this one, which is all the elements that are in the other two, but just in charcoal and cream. It's lovely. It's not black and white either. It's charcoal and cream, which gives it that real sort of hand sketched with a nice pencil as well, because it's the charcoal colour. You've got some elements like the hedgehogs and the birds that are sketched in very dark, and then other ones are lighter. And this same sort of concentric rings, like slices of logs, are within it. And then it's a complete change. You get 1 metre of the blue stripe, which works beautifully, and that's used as vertical stripes and it is sewn between the other colours, and it gives it a sort of a different balance, and it breaks them up. But the blue in the stripe is the same as the blue in the fabric here, but there's also enough fabric in the stripe to use for the binding as well, if you want to bind it in that. But I think this will be a real classic. If you haven't done quilting before, Sally said this is really good for beginners because it is very processed. You start off by cutting all your strips, and the instructions are very good. The instructions say exactly how many strips you need. Then you cut them in another way, and that's just sort of moving you on to the next step. If you've only ever done strip piecing, it's a very simple way of cutting angles and cutting a triangle without a lot of effort and thought because it's all marked out for you already. And the only thing really, and I guess that's practice, is that one of the hardest things with patchwork, I think, is matching seams. Now, there's a lot of seam matching in this. So if you take it very slowly for the first few squares you're joining together, by the time you've joined all the squares together, you will find seam matching very easy. So honestly, people say, they always go, how do you do that? How do you do that? It's a lot of these things, whether it's patchwork, quilting, knitting, crochet, sewing, it's just practice, isn't it? It is. Yeah. No one's born a patchworker or a quilter. No one's a genius. It's just practice. So if there's an element to your sewing that you don't think you're very good at, choose a pattern that uses it a lot. And then you will become very good at it.
In a fabric that you like.
In a fabric
because that makes a world of difference. If you've got some fabric that you're learning on that you really love, that makes all the difference.
It does.
When you don't like it, and it's hard as well, it becomes a no-no. But when it's hard and you love the fabric, you see it through.
Want to do it. Yeah. It's really odd that, isn't it? Because often when I'm making something and trialing it out, I'll use some scrap fabric that I don't like.
Yeah.
But then my heart's just not in it, and I really need to make it in the fabric I do like. Strange. Anyway, so gosh, there's the hour. Whoop. Gone. How did that go? So that's about to sell out. The backing bundles that we have here, the light grey's gone. Dark grey's about to go. There's 3 meters in this bundle. This is normal width fabric, so you have 44 inches, 112 centimeters wide. But 3 meters is enough for most quilts. You cut the fabric in half, and then you join it back together the other way. So you cut it in half across, and then join it selvages, and then it's big enough to back most quilts, and you'll have a seam down the centre. So you've got the dark grey, which is the one on... No, sorry, the dark grey sold out. The white is the only one we have left. When you're joining together backing fabric, you cut it in half. You shouldn't really join it together half and half. You should cut that other piece in half and then join them either side. Sallieann's nodding at me whilst I'm telling you to do that. Because yes, you should have the big piece in the centre and the two halves the other side. It means you haven't got the seam running down the centre. It makes it more balanced. It just has a better look to it. But it's your fabric, you can do what you like with it. But that's how people tend
We won't check.
Nobody will look. But if you want to have a more balanced thing, a bit like if you're making, I do it when I make blinds, if you're having to join lining fabric for the back of blinds or even curtains, never put the seam down the centre, have the main panel down the centre and then the two outer ones, strangely. Anyway, and finally, the ruler, which is really, really useful for this. You need really a 10-inch at least square ruler to be able to do this technique. You don't have to have that. You can do it, you can work it out with another ruler and put lines on it. But the easiest way to do this technique, and honestly, once you've got the instructions and you've had a go at this, and you've seen how the method works, now you join the strips together to cut them into triangles and put the triangles back into squares. This ruler's ideal. $23.99, and obviously it isn't only used for this quilt. You can use it for loads and loads of other things. It's nice to have a selection of rulers, whether they're long ones or short ones or square ones, because once you start getting into the whole rotary cutting and patchwork and quilting and doing different sized triangles and everything, this is just a really useful size to have. So it is 12.5 by 12.5 inches, and you will use it loads. So next hour. So thank you very much, Sallieann, and we will see you back in a month.
Yes.
In a month. Have a nice break. Oh, I expect you'll be doing lots of sewing.
Yes, probably.
And creating lovely new things for us. So next hour we've got some tools, and we're going to do lots of HSTs, because I love making half square triangles, and we've got some really good tools for doing them. And I discovered when I made a quilt recently, I needed to make a lot of them. I made a rainbow quilt, which had, I think, 144 half square triangles. So I needed to find out the most speed efficient and fabric efficient way of doing it. So I'm going to show you how to do it, and we've got a special tool that's just the best thing for HSTs. Oh yes, and if you're interested in my cardigan, my lovely new cardigan, and you would like to knit your own, come back in a couple of minutes and I'll tell you how you can. I will see you soon.
While we're having to spend more time at home again, we're here to keep you busy and entertained. Sewing Street will be live every day from 8 a.m, bringing you plenty of demonstrations with our experts in dressmaking, quilting, bag making, toy making, needle felting, embroidery, and so much more. Our community of fellow sewists on the Sewing Street fans Facebook group are there to chat to you about whatever you're making, sharing photos and advice. Check out the Sewing Street Facebook and Instagram pages for fun competitions and offers.
Follow Sewing Street and Yarn Lane on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media. And pick up some top tips from us too.
Have you heard about all of the different ways you can shop with Sewing Street and Yarn Lane? You can either shop on our websites, sewingstreet.com and yarnlane.com. You can also order by phone by calling our friendly UK customer service team. For Sewing Street, call 0800 001 4433, and for Yarn Lane, call 0800 4700 600. And don't forget about the Sewing Street app. Here you can shop all of the Sewing Street products as well as watch the live shows from anywhere. You can download the app onto your smartphone or your tablet by simply searching Sewing Street in your app store. And one final thing, no matter how many times you check out on Sewing Street or Yarn Lane in one day, you will only pay one postage and packaging. Happy shopping!
In need of a crafting fix? There are so many ways you can watch Sewing Street and Yarn Lane. Sewing Street is live from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day on Freeview 72 and Sky 670. Alternatively, if you want to watch us on a tablet or on the move, you can tune in on our YouTube channel, the Sewing Street app, or the websites at www.sewingstreet.com and www.yarnlane.com. You can watch past shows on Sky 670 from 1 p.m. every day, as well as our YouTube channel, the app, and our website. Yarn Lane is on from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Visit our programme guide to find out when and what's on. So you never have to spend a minute without us.
You are all invited to join us for Vicky's baby shower on Wednesday the 24th of February. We have a bumper day planned for you with lots of baby makes from both Sewing Street and Yarn Lane from 8 a.m. right up until 4 p.m. You can watch us on Sky 670, YouTube and Facebook Live for the full 8 hours. Or, if you watch on Freeview 72, just tune in as normal from 8 a.m, then you can watch on YouTube or Facebook Live from 1 p.m. Send your messages and advice for the mum-to-be to studio@sewingstreet.com and we'll read them out to Vicky on the day. And don't forget to put Wednesday the 24th of February in your diary for lots of oohs and ahs and plenty of treats thrown in too.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
You are all invited to join us for Vicky's baby shower on Wednesday the 24th of February. We have a bumper day planned for you with lots of baby makes from both Sewing Street and Yarn Lane from 8 a.m. right up until 4 p.m. You can watch us on Sky 670, YouTube and Facebook Live for the full 8 hours. Or, if you watch on Freeview 72, just tune in as normal from 8 a.m, then you can watch on YouTube or Facebook Live from 1 p.m. Send your messages and advice for the mum-to-be to studio@sewingstreet.com and we'll read them out to Vicky on the day. And don't forget to put Wednesday the 24th of February in your diary for lots of oohs and ahs and plenty of treats thrown in too. And welcome back to Sewing Street. We have got some brilliant things for you this hour. I'm going to teach you about half square triangles only because when I first started quilting, people used to talk casually about OHSTs and I had no idea what they were talking about and didn't really like to ask. Then I found out what they were, and it wasn't, Hannah's laughing, HSTs. It wasn't Hormone, it wasn't HRT, which I thought it was. It was HST. Then I discovered what they were and what you can do with them. But there's some quite clever ways of cutting them that makes it simpler and easier. We've got two really good tools on that are specifically for HSTs or adding 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to show you how to do that and how you can cut 2s, 4s and 8s all in one go, which makes your patchwork a lot quicker. But to start with, I'm going to show you some layer cakes. Now this one, can I open this one, Hannah? Thank you. Oh, I don't know where the join. Oh, there's the join. So I've got to do it very carefully. They don't often come apart very easily. But we've only ever... Oh, gosh. Right. I'm going to have to use scissors. That is a shame. It's gone. But that one I can get off. We'll stick it back together with sellotape. This is lovely. So if you don't know what a layer cake is, it's a 10-inch square. This is a Moda one, so we're allowed to call them layer cakes because that's their name. But other companies will call them a 10-inch charm pack, but they call them a layer cake. But you can call them layer cakes or charm packs. But basically, they're 10-inch squares. And in this one, you get, it's normally 42. So they are perfect for pre-cut quilts. They're a really good size for using for lots of different things. Very simple quilt. If you want to do it really quickly and easy, just join them all together. Because the fabrics in a layer cake are all nearly always from the same fabric collection. So therefore the patterns, the designs and the colours and the theme all go together. Isn't this the best one on the top though? Sunflowers and ladybirds. Should we go and have a look at all of them? Why not? Because it's such a lovely collection. So there we've got sunflower seeds. I don't know how well you can see this one because it's on a cream background. Because it's white. It's like white on white. Is there an... You're all right. Wait a minute. It is available in other colourways in here, so you'll be able to see it. But it is white on white. It's sunflower seeds. Look at this one. Ladybirds. But you see, wouldn't this make a fantastic quilt if you just joined them all together? You wouldn't even need to do anything. Or you just keep it in your fabric stash and you use it and you go, oh yes, I just need a little pocket. Oh, I need a little bit of an extra. I want to bind something, add something. I've got that lovely collection. Look, sunflowers. They're really nice, aren't they? They're very stylised. But now look, here's the sunflower seeds. Not coffee beans. They look a bit like coffee beans, but they're not. They're sunflower seeds. But there it is. So you can see, so the one that's the white on white is the same as that. You've got your nice low volume prints as well to add to it. There's a nice, just a geometric one. There's the same sunflowers in a yellow. Sunflowers, big, well, I mean, the colour palette, big sunflowers. The colour palette's lovely. It's a real sunshine yellow. It looks plain, this one, but it isn't. It's a nice low volume texture print. So it's got lots of lines that are all wonky and little bits in between them. Really, so it gives you that 3D effect. I love the ladybird print. This has got to be just strawberry, hasn't it? It's got all the little lines, like little ladybird trails all over it. There's the same large sun print that we had in the gold. Well, it's not gold, it's like a real sunshine yellow. And then the yellow print that I just showed you with all the lines. Sometimes you can see it better in other colours. So you've got, I'm trying to think, I don't know how many colourways you've got. So that's the sort of, that was the strawberry one. Now we're on to the orange colourway. So you imagine joining all, if you just honestly simply just join them all together to make one quilt, it would look absolutely stunning, wouldn't it? Look at the large print. It's like tangerine, that one, isn't it? With a ladybird. Then you've got the texture print. Oh, we haven't seen this one. Look at this one. This is the farmyard, the countryside. This is Provence, isn't it? In France. Yeah. They're very large sunflowers in relation to the houses, aren't they? Maybe it's perspective, or maybe they just have extremely good compost. They've grown very large. So that's your French countryside, isn't it, with the large sunflowers. Love the green in this as well. It's not your sort of real limey green. It is very much leafy green, springy leafy green. Oh, I'm glad we've got this one. This is my theme today of one day the world will be normal, we can go on holiday. And the sun will, maybe one day the sun will shine. It does look really nice as well as this large print. And then we've got the sunflower seeds again. There are only 7 of these left. Look at the ladybirds on the green. That's gorgeous, isn't it? But I've got to show you the final part of it. Is suddenly we get onto these blues. So this is beautiful sky, isn't it? Beautiful sky on a lovely summer's day. That's amazing, isn't it? And then you've got the ladybirds in that colour as well, and you've got the amazing sunflowers and the big sunflowers. And then there is one more colour There's one more. So this is your turquoisey, really beautiful sunny day blue. And then this is almost like Mediterranean sea blue. That one and that one. But look at the big sunflower in that colour. Yeah. So, when we were talking earlier about the patchwork cushion instructions and about framing pieces of fabric, this would be ideal, wouldn't it? That's beautiful. Can you imagine making a cushion like that with all the sort of colours around the edge? So when you've got instructions like they just make a cushion, something like a layer cake like this would be ideal because you can use it to make all of those things. What a beautiful selection, from sunshine yellow to strawberry and peach and tangerine and blues. Love it. Absolutely love that one. I think Hannah's got her eye on this one. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stack that back together properly. It's a shame. It's a shame. I'll put it to one side. Yeah, it's so nice. I'll just put it there. Shall we go through the next fabric collection? Right. We've got the Moda Dover. I love this collection. There's 42. Again, it's a layer cake, 10-inch squares. There's 42 of them. Beautiful colours. It's called Dover. It's reminiscent of the White Cliffs of Dover. It's the sort of the real English seaside colours, although it just feels very vintage English. So you've got the blues and greens and these really soft greys. So the floral fabric that's at the front here is shown up really in all of these prints behind it. So you've got two of the floral, you've got that beautiful leafy print and some stripes and ticking, but it feels very 1950s English, using those colours, and very vintage. It's absolutely beautiful, and I love the green. It's a very, very soft green. But I think this would make just a classic quilt. There are quite a lot of different patterns and quilt ideas, things you can make with layer cakes, but there's lots and lots of different quilts you could make in this that would just fit in. It feels very very summery, look really lovely in a bedroom, but equally, it would really pretty up and give a bit of a freshness to your living room as well. I love that blue, real duck egg blues and greens. That's a beautiful fabric collection. That is one of my favourites. Then we've got, carrying on the floral theme, this is really different. This is Minky Kim. Now, she's an amazing designer. Produced by Riley Blake, but Minky Kim does fabric designs for them. She's got a fantastic website with all of her lovely designs of different bags, and what she's really good at is little designs. So she does lots of little cosmetic bags that have got tiny patchwork. If you get time, just go onto her website and have a look at what she does. The fabric designs she does echo that, in that they are always really beautiful, detailed, small prints. She's very clever. I love the way, you've got that filler one that's just diagonal stripes, which you don't often see on fabric. This background fabric and stuff, it's just got tiny little squares here, there, and little dots. So this is the same. I mean, this is Riley Blake. They call it a stacker, but it's a 10-inch square. But look at this. This one is really lovely. You've got their little apples on this beautiful blue background, and then it just says love. So Minky Kim's signature in her fabric design and her pattern designs is always detail and miniature detail. And if you see some of the things she does, when I used to work on Simply Sewing magazine and Love Patchwork Quilting, she used to do a lot of designs for them, particularly things like little zip bags. Absolutely loved them. They're just little things you cherish. I mean, that's beautiful, isn't it? It's very clever. It's got, it's only a very small colour palette, but it's all outlined, so it looks sort of hand sketched and then coloured in. You get two of those. Even this design that's just very simple squares has got tiny, tiny little blobs of colour. She's very into detail. And then the next fabric in the range is beautiful. Sunshine. Can't really think of any other better description for it than sunshine yellow. And then you've got the same stripes and more yellow. I love this fabric. I'm going to need to turn that one round so you can see it. It's got some lovely prints on it. It's got dried roses hanging upside down, rosemary, rose lemonade, a day like this, hi you, vintage love. So you can use these fabrics. You can join them together, make a whole quilt, make a whole throw, or use them for little things, fussy cut them, take out the small parts of them. When you've got a collection like this, you find that once you've had the nerve to break into it, because you don't ever really want to cut the first one, once you've done that, then you start using them. I love the background on this one because it's just a very, very deep charcoal, which makes those brighter colours really stand out. And you've got the small version of that. I love that. There's the little apple print. You can really see the love bit because it's written in green there. But lots of fine detail. And that fabric, hi you, is in grey. And then the whole collection again. So it's sort of a set of designs, but in different colours. You've then got it in the pinks and bright pink. Because quite often when you see a fabric collection, you never have everything, all of it, or often if you go to a shop they don't have the whole range of it, or if you want to buy a fat quarter of everything it's quite expensive. But this is a really good way of having a bit of the whole range, and it'll all go together. So you can, if you think, well, gee, I really quite fancy making a quilt, look on the back, it shows you a picture of all of them as well. I really want to make a quilt, but I don't really know where to start, and I'm not very good at colour choice. That's often what people say is, if I can't buy that as a kit, I'm not very good at colour choice. Well, buy layer cake, because you know that the designer, who is good at colour choice, has put the whole collection together. And there are plenty of books and patterns that create lots of beautiful designs just using these as well. So that's a really good place to start. Books. So now we've got the fabrics, what shall we make with them? Modern quilting. Now obviously not all of these are good for layer cakes, but there's lots of ideas. Modern quilting, 25 step-by-step projects for just $10.99. For $10.99. That's an absolute bargain. Should we just have a look through it? When it says modern, doesn't mean like, oh, modern. Sometimes you think when it says modern, you think, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I like modern, It just means contemporary. That's a much better word. So they've got all the information, basic kit, cutting, rose custom. So if you haven't done any patchwork and quilting before, or only a little bit, it explains to you in here how to do it from the beginning, all the way through. How to use templates, how to make half square triangles, quarter square triangles, piecing, how to nest seams, matching up seams, how to do quilting, how to do binding, attaching binding, and they've even got how to do the mitered corners. So all the basic quilts. So if you haven't done any quilting or patchwork at all before, everything you need to know is the beginning. And then we've got different chapters. This is the one I always like the accessories and gifts, because this is what you can use your smaller pieces of fabric for, your stash or your layer cake or your fat quart bundle, and you can learn some skills. They're nice, aren't they? Fabric boxes. God, they're clever. They're like one piece that's all folded up together. Like them. First love growth chart. Oh. I've made a few of these growth charts as gifts for a friend, and when our son was born I made one for him because it's got a tape measure on it, so you just mark, so you can mark their height on it. Oh, that's so nice. You could put, if you put like little pieces of vinyl on there, you could put photos in as well. You could just write their height on in a permanent pen. That's such a nice thing. Little pencil case, but using tiny bits of fabric. I like the shape on that. This is EPP, but it's quite an unusual shape. But this is where you can start using fabrics. And when we talk about fussy cutting, and this would be ideal for fussy cutting because it's got small prints. You could use them on there, and that's English paper piecing. Bag, colouring book holder, 70s Zoom floor pillow. I don't know why it's called the Zoom. Don't know. Doesn't explain that really why it's called a Zoom thing, but nice floor pillow anyway. Ironing mat and sewing machine cover. Oh, well, that's good, isn't it? So so the whole thing covers your sewing machine. very useful. But then when you open it all out, wow, it's an ironing mat. Gosh, that's stunning, isn't it? I love all the big stars on it. Round boxy pillow. And then we move on to blankets and quilts. That's nice. But honestly, there is so much in here. There is, for $10.99, look at all these projects. What I like is you've got loads and loads of different ideas as well. So something like this is ideal for layer cakes or, you know, any of your smaller pre-cuts, because you need lots of little pieces for it. They've used quarter square triangles in that one. Quilts, lots of quilts and blankets and throws. This one's clever. So this is you moving on to the next stage a bit, isn't it, where you're doing now curved piecing. But it's very good. It's very comprehensive. It really explains how you do curve piecing. But quite impressive. I think these look really impressive. There's lots and lots of ideas. Sometimes that's all we need, isn't it, when we've got fabric, is we just need like the germ of an idea to get you started, and you think, oh, I'll do that. That's really unusual, isn't it? So you've got lots of double curves going on, but I like the way that it really is explained. And a nice big picture, that's the orange peel quilt. But the use of colour is something that if you're unsure about colour, you can follow this and see how to do it. But they don't have to be just bed quilts. If you've got a wall to fill, they're ideal for that. Very good for insulation as well. And then home decor. Table mats. The Rubik's Cube doorstop, that's brilliant, isn't it? See, everything is going retro, isn't it? We've had 70s earlier on. We're now on 80s Rubik's Cube doorstops. That's great. I think it's nice. I think it's just ideas sometimes, isn't it? When you think, well, I want to make something, but I'm just not sure what to make, or I really want to make so-and-so something for their birthday. And it's having books like this that give you the ideas and the techniques to come back to. I'll admit, Love Hex quilt. That's really stunning. As a piece of art, I think we often forget that you can put quilting on the walls. And it does look amazing. And there's something I think about you putting fabric on walls. It just feels sort of soft and homely. And then at the back, all the templates, actual size. With a picture, so you don't have to try and find it. Which makes it a bit easier, doesn't it? So everything you need to know is in there. I think for $10.99, that's an exceptionally good value book, because you have got a lot of technique in there and a lot of ideas for projects that you might not have seen, and you can mix and match things together. I really like that project, but I like that design. Nice book. Nice. So let's move on to the next one. Love to Sew Quick and Easy Patchwork. Lots of, so how much is this? $7.99. We've got loads of ideas in here. So again, you've got all the sewing basics, which, you know, even if you have done a lot of sewing, a lot of patchwork and quilting, there's always something you can learn from it when you turn. You think, oh, that's interesting. Just small techniques that if you've done joining strips and you've done different things, but you hadn't thought of doing it in different ways, there's always something in these books that you can learn. Shopping bag, very useful since we can't have the plastic ones anymore. That's nice. Rainbow pillow. I like the way they've used the rainbow colours, but used some fabrics with a bit of texture on them as well. Cutlery roll. You'll be needing that for the picnic blankets that you're going to be making, and all the picnics that we're going to be going on one day. One day we'll go on picnics. One day. I think we've got probably more chance of the sun shining, because I haven't seen the sun for a while either. That's lovely. I like the fabrics they've used. I think the ticking works really well. Patchwork bedroom. Those colours are lovely, very spring. So these would work really well with, I think, the sunshine layer cake would look really nice in that quilt. Scrapbook covers. That's nice. Yeah, so the holiday fabric that we had at 9 o'clock would be really, really good for that, with all the lighthouses. Cover your notebooks. Oh, and they've got little pockets inside as well. So I think it's sometimes nice, when you buy fabric, you just buy it because you like it. You're not sure what you're going to do with it. when you've got a few books like this, the sort of the two come together, and then you think, oh yes, fantastic idea. And then I think all of us who are creative, we like to follow things and say, I'm going to use that fabric and that, but we also like to use our own ideas as well. But you need to start somewhere. And it's having books like this and ideas and the fabrics that give you the thought of how you can do different things. And it's also a way of trying out different techniques, because that's the only way you get good at sewing or better at sewing is just practice. And smaller projects are a really good way of doing that, because it's not so intimidating and it's not so costly either, is it? If you're going to practice and make mistakes, do it on something smaller. Smartphone. Tablet cover. But they'd be really useful. So, you know, some of the fabrics that we've had before, they'd be ideal for these. If you take your tablet on holiday with you. Little makeup bag. That's really unusual. If you look at the picture here, they've quilted it all together, and then it has a really unusual shape. So it goes up. I guess that's so you can get your taller bottles in that end. But it's nice to have ideas like that. And templates and a wall tidy. But these books, these are using all of those sort of smaller piece of fabrics, but there's a lot of information. I think these are very, very good value. So, yes. So now I'm going to show you these things, which you might wonder what they are. They're one of these amazing tools that really is only used for one thing, but is brilliant at it. And sometimes that's the way to do it, isn't it? They come in two sizes, these brilliant things. You have the longer one, which is 15 inches. So these rulers are used for cutting and marking for half square triangles. Now the 15-inch one will do up to about 10.5-inch squares. Which sounds odd, doesn't it? It's all to do with the hypotenuse. So perfect for your layer cakes. Let me show you. Because what it does is it marks the diagonal line across. So up to about 10.5-inch squares is the maximum for the 15-inch. And the 9-inch, this one here, is for up to 6.5-inch squares. And I'm going to show you how to use them in a minute. But they are exactly like all the other creative grids. They have got the textured part on the back. I mean, it's very narrow. So you've got straight edges. Now, these are not cutting rulers. They are not to be used for cutting. They are only for marking. They're very narrow. And although they are made from the same perspex that the creative other rulers are, they're not wide enough. And creative grids are quite adamant about that. They are not for cutting. They are for marking. But they are brilliant at it. And you don't need them for cutting anyway, because that's not their purpose. But they have got the texture bit on the back of both of them so that they will stay still on your fabric. Okay, so what you need to do, there are different ways of doing half square triangles. So I'm going to just show you the smaller one, just so then I could cut out smaller pieces of fabric. So obviously, the big one, also they will do small ones. It's just that the maximum that this one will do is 6.5, and the maximum this one will do is 10.5. So you need to choose which one you want, or have both. You can use the bigger one for smaller squares, but obviously if you're only doing small squares, it's easier to use the smaller one. So what I've cut here is 2 6.5-inch squares, because that's the maximum you can do with this, and I wanted you to be able to see that. So if you want to make half square triangles, now a half square triangle is, I've got one here, is a square, half a square that's made from 2 triangles, because it's half a square with triangles. And that's why they're called, move that there. That's why they're called half square triangles, this one I made earlier. So that is what a half square triangle is. It's used as a building block in lots and lots of patchwork. It's used for sawtooth, just lines of half square triangles. You can rotate them, you can make pinwheels with them, you can use them as borders, but a lot of the building blocks of patchwork is the half square triangle. And once you've done sort of strip piecing or joining together squares or chain piecing, this is probably the next step that you'll do. So there are various ways of creating them. If you want to just make a pair, just one pair of half square triangles, this is the easiest way. So you cut your square, and then what you have to do is you have to have a line down the centre, and you need to do 2 stitching lines, 1/4 inch either side of this. So if you don't have one of these, let me just get a pen. I need a friction pen. Oh, can't. Yeah, everything gets moved around, doesn't it? Oh, that's fine. I'll use a water erasable pen. It doesn't really matter. So there are 2 ways of doing this. The long way. Let me get a ruler. So what you can do is you can draw a line down the centre and then sew 1/4 inch either side of it. It's really important that you sew exactly 1/4 inch either side of it. So what I tend to do before I had one of these rulers is I would mark down the centre and then mark 1/4 inch. So I'd mark down there, and then I'd move my 1/4 inch, I'd draw a line there, turn it round and draw a line the other side. Now that's fine. If you're only making 1 or 2, that's absolutely fine. If you're making a lot of them, this is a much easier way. So you place the corners on the corners of these, and that line goes down. Now down the middle, there's a groove that's cut out, so you can draw if you want to draw the centre line, you can, and then you can use your 1/4 inch. So that's going to be your cutting line. You'll see why in a minute. And then you can sew 1/4 inch either side of that. If you are unsure about your 1/4 inch accuracy, if you're more of a beginner, then I would draw either side of it. But it's so quick because I haven't got to move the ruler. It's not like with that one where I'd have had to move the ruler again. I can just draw either side of it. So the outer is the sewing and the inner is the cutting. So now I'm going to sew along it, along the outer ones. Ooh, the pedals disappeared. Okay, right. So this is obviously quite a big half square triangle because I wanted to show you the biggest size of the ruler. Most of them won't be as big as that. And then we'll just sew the other side. Okay. And then just a little press. Ooh. Right. Actually, I could just use the other side of this now. And then we can cut along the centre line. You can do that with a rotary cutter, or you can just do it with a pair of scissors because it doesn't have to be massively accurate. But that drawn line, you can then just cut along. Right. We've now got 2 half square triangles. So that's really simple, isn't it? But by having that little tool, it just makes it easier to do the drawing. So if you're doing a lot of them, like I was telling you earlier, the quilt I made that had 144 of them, I didn't have one of those. And honestly, it took me so long. But it's just the best tool. It really is. I mean, that's what it is for marking. It will mark your centre 1/4. You can use them for other things, but anything where you need to mark 1/4 inch either side, it's perfect for. Oh, I just put that down there. It doesn't like staying up. So there's 2. So if another way of doing it, which doesn't use this ruler, but I'm going to show you anyway. There's 2 ways to do it. If I wanted to make 4 half square triangles, I've got the same size 6.5 inch squares as I've got there. I'll take my little label off. But what you do, you sew them together all the way around the edge. Actually, I'll turn it over, you can see it better. With a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you've got like 2 layers like that. Okay. Then you take your ruler. There's one. So it's quite easy to just sew all around the edge. That's a really simple way. Now this might seem like, what are you doing? But there is a reason for it. Now you don't want to move those. So if you haven't got a rotating cutting mat, use a small cutting mat and rotate it yourself. You can move them. You can obviously move them, but make sure they go right back together again. So we're going to cut like this. Now, if we open them out, we've now got half square triangles, but we've got 4 of them. So 4 made really quickly. Now, to work out, if you had to make, for example, 2-inch half square triangles, there's lots of different things. If you look online, I printed out a few here that will tell you how big your finished size needs to be. So the cut size is 6.5 inch. So this was 6.5 inch. That means that these will be 3.5 inch finished. Finished means once I've sewn them together. Doesn't mean now, but finished is once I've sewn them together. There's loads. If you just put in half square triangle maths on the internet, there's loads and loads of different charts that will tell you what size you need to cut your big squares depending on how big you want your little squares. So say you want 2-inch finished half square triangles, you need to cut your big squares to 4.5 inches. Sew them together all the way around, and then that makes 4. So that's a really quick way of making 4. But if you want to make 8, then you need your ruler again. Yes, so we're going to use the little 9-inch one again. I haven't pinned these together because they sort of, it's probably better if you do, but I find, nearly went wrong then, didn't I? Just caught it in time. Living, so it's on the edge, extreme ironing that was. So if you just iron them together, they sort of stay together a bit more. Let's give that a bit of a shake. I wish I knew where the friction pens were, because that's what I really want. The friction pen, but never mind. So what we do with the 8 at a time is we're going to mark them all the way across in the same way that we did before. Now I'm not going to mark the centre line because I don't need that one. I'm going to mark the outer lines with my erasable. I have to sanitize that now. Do not do it on the ironing side, because it's a bit softer. Do it on the drawing side. So look, we've done that way. I'm going to turn it over now. Right, it's a lot easier to draw. You don't have to have them together to draw this, because you're only doing it on one side, okay? And then draw using your little ruler on the other side. So this is so much quicker than if you got a ruler and you had to keep moving it. Yeah. And by working out, depending on how many half square triangles you're doing, are you doing them in 2s, 4s, 8s? This is just the quickest way. So what we're going to do now is sew along all of these lines. What happens when they cross? Well, yeah, I know, I'm double checking that I've actually got this right. Oh God, what have I known? I did this yesterday. I've done this so many times, and every time I get swapped from 2 to 4, 8, I worry. And I even did it again last night to be sure, and I'm still double checking. It's just that great fear when you, I've done it lots of times of then doing it and it all going wrong. But what I like about drawing the lines on the fabric is that it's so much easier to sew along because you just have to sewing along drawn lines. Great if you're a beginner as well. So look, I've sewn across one pair, and I'm just going to sew across the other pairs so you can see that way. Oh, it's all getting a bit tangled under here. I'm using a nice contrasting colour thread here. Don't do this at home. I've got dark blue, light blue and brown thread. But this is just does help for it to show up when you can see what I'm doing. Right. Right. Let's turn over to the ironing side. I'm not going to get this wrong this time. And I need to turn this. So... Iron to set the seams. When you sew through fabric, the action, gosh, that's a bit wonky this, so we won't look at that. The action of the thread and the needle going through the fabric sort of upsets it and disturbs it slightly. So by pressing after you, even if you're going to press the seam open, always set it by just pressing it first. Also, do you know what? It's a lot easier to cut and trim if it's not all slightly bunched up, and it takes seconds to just set your seam. It just relaxes everything. Everything goes back to the way that it should have been before. So this is where I'm going to need a bit of space because I haven't got, this is where you need a smaller cutting mat because you need to keep moving. Remember, you mustn't use those tools for cutting with. They are only used for drawing. So now we're going to do what we did with the fours. I'm going to cut that way. And then we're going to cut this way. Right. And we're going to make sure they stay back together because they moved a little bit. Then we're going to cut through the centre. Now that's quite easy because you've got the centre mark there and you can match the top of your ruler so it's in a straight line. I'm going to cut that way. And then we're going to, so you really do want to be moving the board. You can readjust them obviously, but it's not very easy. So again, cut through the centre and make sure the line is straight at the top. And this is where I pray I've done it right. So, we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I take each one of them and open them out, we've got half square triangles. Yeah, it worked. So I made some last night just so you can see what they actually look like when you press them open. So anyway, it has worked. There are 8. And this is what they look like. So from a 6.5 inch square, I wrote it down, you can get, cut side back, you can get like a 2.5 inch finished size. But again, if you look online and just put in HST maths, there's lots of things. There's also a equation. So to work out the 8 squares, it's y equals x plus 7/8 times 2. Which actually works because I tried it. So it's just a really quick way. So by just doing 4 rows of stitching, I've now got 8 HSTs. 8 and H is really hard. 8 HSTs together just from 2 lines, but because of the ruler, even quicker. So if I wanted really big ones, then I could just cut even bigger squares. There is a formula to work it out, or there's loads of charts to do it. So depending on whether you want to make 2, 4, 8, it's much, much quicker. And there you go. So, love it. Love an HST. Now you know everything about how to do them because I taught you strip ones this morning. Yes. This is lovely. So I'm just one last little thing. I've got lots of things here. This is really good. So it's called I Love My Quilting Friends by Creative Grids. But you know how when you just need just a little ruler just for marking little things, you've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance. There's so much on here. In fact, shall I turn it over? I don't think that cutting mat is helping. I don't think any of this is helping. Right. There we go. It's got a 1/4 inch seam line. It's 6 inches long. It's got all of the tiny little markings here. It's just got everything, all the little pieces you need. It's actually really useful for marking fabric. I mean, I know you can use it for cutting because it is a cutting thing, but you know when you've just got to mark, they say, oh, turn the hem over by 1 inch. And you've got those marks or just 1/2 inch. It's a much easier way. I tend to use metal rulers or Perspex ones like this for marking fabric rather than a tape measure, because sometimes I catch my tape measure with my iron. But not only that, when I measure with a tape measure, if I use a retractable one, I tend to start like 10 centimetres in because they go slightly stretchy at the ends. They're not always as accurate. But with something like this, you know it's perfect. So if you've got to mark, you know, 1/2 inch increments, maybe you're making pleats in dressmaking, that sort of thing, then a Perspex ruler that's solid, and it's Creative Grids, so it's got the grip on it. The hearts are all grippy. They've got the textured bit underneath. So $15.99, that's just really, really useful. I have a small ruler like this and then a longer one, and I use them all the time because it starts at the beginning. And just for if you've got to mark a 1/4 inch seam allowance on something, there it is. Just draw down it. Really, really useful. I mean, all of those measurements are on all of the Creative Grids rulers, obviously. But I would say, yes, you can use it can be used for cutting, but I think you'll find you'll use it more for marking. But, you know, when you've just got to measure 1/2 inch on something or a 1/4 inch, it's just much easier with a little ruler. You can keep it in your sewing kit. You can keep it by the machine. Really lovely little piece of equipment. That was my last thing. Now, everyone's been asking about my beautiful cardigan, and I would like to say that I own it and I knitted it myself, but sadly I don't, although maybe they won't notice when they ask me for the samples back. Anyway, we're really lucky today. West Yorkshire Spinners is launching today, and you'll know them if you've been watching Yarn Lane. You'll remember their Natural Home range, all those lovely cushions and blankets. Same company. They are launching today their brand new collection of patterns called Life in Colour. It's a beautiful collection of knitting patterns using the West Yorkshire Spinners 100% wool Colour Lab range. Chloe Birch is the designer of them. She's a really young, talented, upcoming knitwear designer, and we are lucky enough to have her here today. And she is going to explain about how she designed them, how she made them. I've got them all behind me. So this is beautiful cardigan. And where's she explaining this, Hannah? Here. She's on Yarn Lane. On Yarn Lane, like in 5 minutes' time. So if you're on the telly, just stay where you are. Don't move. It's the same thing. If you're watching on Facebook or on the website, you need to swap over at 12 o'clock to www.yarnlane.com. Okay? As far as shopping, you need to be on the website for yarnlane.com. We're lucky. We have our own website on Yarn Lane. You go onto yarnlane.com, the shopping is done in exactly the same way. Everything's on pre-order, so if you want to buy any of the yarn packs, we've got the pattern books and the yarn packs for sale, so you buy them separately so that you can choose what you make. But the good thing is if you've bought anything on Sewing Street already, you've paid your P&P, because the Sewing Street and the Yarn Lane P&P is all joined together. So if you've already bought something, because we're in the same warehouse, so it's easy peasy. So if you've already bought something on Sewing Street, your P&P's covered. So don't go anywhere, because we will be back in about 5 minutes with all of these beautiful garments that you've been watching all day, including my beautiful cardigan. But tomorrow on Sewing Street, we have got 8 o'clock miss out fabrics. We've only got a few very limited number of these fabrics left, and they'll be on at 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock, we've got Village Fabrics Japanese needle case, and with Yvonne. She's on at 9 o'clock. We love Yvonne. She's always got amazing ideas, and she is so knowledgeable, and she's And she's really funny as well. Really good fun to work with. 10 o'clock, sewing room tools. 11 o'clock, Yvonne's back with the teddy bear Quillo. Always a favourite. Everybody always loves a Quillo. They're just great. You can use them for so many things. You'll enjoy that one. And then 12 o'clock, sewing machines. Everybody's wanting a sewing machine at the moment. But that's because we're all staying in and sewing. So that's 12 o'clock with sewing machines. So see you back here tomorrow on Sewing Street. But don't go anywhere, because if you want to know how to knit these beautiful garns, meet a real live knitwear designer, beautiful yarn, beautiful patterns, and don't go anywhere. Or if you haven't knitted for a while and you just want to think, oh, shall I do that again? I'll have a go. It's really nice to see some patterns and some designs that are really not, like modern, the sort of thing you don't want to wear, but really contemporary, not old-fashioned, and using beautiful yarn. Then I will see you back here in about 5 minutes.